And here we are live at the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo in Atlanta, Georgia. We are cutting in at the end of round one. This is going to be game 3 matchup on Attack from Mars. I'm Mark Steinman. I'm sitting in the booth with Doug Polka.
Good morning, everyone.
All of our regular announcers are still qualified. That would be Steve Bowden, Adam Lefkoff, and Pete Hendricks. Some of those fellas are going to be sitting in on the mic a little bit later. And we are actively rooting against them so that they can get here quickly. In some cases, we've actually sabotaged the machines, but
because we're really nice guys.
It didn't work. They keep winning. Up now on Attack from Mars, we have Pete Hendricks. And this is game 3 of this matchup.
So just as a little preview of what this game's been about all weekend, this game was involved in qualifying. It's a really fast-playing Attack from Mars. The outlanes are wide open. And the tilt is definitely a little bit on the sensitive side, so you probably won't see a lot of nudging action on it.
Other people have been talking about the pinball rubbers on this. This isn't the Super Bands or the Saturn rings. This is a new company, correct? This is is it Titan pinball rubbers?
Correct. It's one of the sponsors of the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo, Titan Rubbers. I was talking to Matt, who runs the company, and he said these are actually a silicone rubber, not urethane like the Super Bands and the Saturn rings are.
Looks like Adam's going a traditional strategy here, firing away on the lock right out of the gate. Typically in Attack from Mars, there's 2 different tournament strategies, one of which is tournament or a total annihilation with the billion hurry up, or another, I would say more common strategy is just to go locks all day and go multi-ball over and over. But most, I would say realistically, most players end up just combining the 2 because you end up just...
Yeah, as I shoot my locks and I get my multi-ball build up, I will miss enough shots that I will make some progress towards total annihilation. And when I've only got a couple shots left, I'm like, why not? Let's go for that.
I'm trying to give him credit, but the truth is you just end up missing a bunch of stuff and get, whenever you're not that far away, total annihilation doesn't look too bad.
And that was a really, really tough drain there. As you saw, the outlanes are wide open. That just gobbled up the ball down the left side there.
These are 3 pretty terrible scores here to start on this game. It's been open so far in the tournament. I think we've had some scores close to 10 billion, and I know just a game or 2 ago, earlier in the quarterfinals, we saw 6 billion, 5 billion, a couple 4 billion. So the game's available. These players just don't appear to be putting it together.
With the tilt set the way it is, you really have to be nailing your shots, because if you're hitting posts, you're going to pay for it.
I would say in Attack from Mars, it doesn't bother me that much that the tilt is tight, because this is a game where if you hit your shots, it's safe. If I'm playing Metallica or Iron Man and the tilt's set up real tight, then as a player I'm kind of annoyed, because it's a game where you have to nudge it because that's the way the game was designed. In Attack, just don't miss.
Yeah, most of the returns are going to be back to a flipper. The scoop is really controllable on the kick out on this particular Attack from Mars as well. Gives you a nice cradleable feed to the right flipper.
I see some of the flashing lights spinning around the saucers there. Is that Bill Lung's mod?
I believe so. There's been a couple that have come out. Bill Lung's was the first and usually the most popular.
We're talking about the spinning lights around the saucers. For anyone who's new to Attack from Mars, that's not a normal feature of the game. It's something that players put on in the aftermarket.
There was also I believe it was Marco here, was selling another mod for AFM where you could get alternating colored lights on the main saucer as well, which I didn't see it in action, but I saw some pictures of it. It looked kind of neat.
We're going to have to see if we can flag down Brian Broyles at some point. Brian's the fellow who's been helping run this tournament the whole weekend. He's been putting in a lot of time over here in the Atlanta Pinvasion area.
And this is the first year for this event, and it's been a fantastic event. It's been a really good weekend.
Yeah, I have to agree. The Southern-Fried Gaming Expo, I had a great time all weekend. It's a lot of fun stuff. I got my picture taken with Darth Vader last night. That doesn't happen a lot.
I got to meet Billy Mitchell. I was really stoked about that.
Well, Darth was a real nice guy. How was Billy Mitchell?
Billy Mitchell was great. I got the thumbs up from him.
Did you get to touch his hair?
I tried to touch his hair, and his security guards pinned me to the ground. I don't know what was up with that.
When is your restraining order up?
I don't think I'm allowed to come back to Atlanta for at least a year.
Yeah, I tried to steal Walter Day's referee shirt. That didn't go well either.
I didn't know it ever came off. Thought it was a
It's
tattoo.
actually a skin. Back to Attack from Mars. We just fell out of multi-ball here. It looked like he's still... Is he going to... it looked like he still had 2 jacks left before he got to the super. Didn't quite get there. And this is one of those situations where total annihilation isn't that far away. What you're watching, he's probably going to go right orbit now to try and stack the hurry-ups. And what I mean by that is in Attack from Mars, anytime you complete one of the primary shots, and by... Let me dial it the whole way back. Each primary shot, left orbit, left ramp, right orbit, have 3 inserts in front of it. And every time you shoot one of those shots, one of those inserts will light up. And whenever you shoot each one 3 times, you will start a hurry up at the center saucer. And I believe it goes, 3, 5, 7, and then a billion? Is that right?
I believe so.
And the more of those hurry ups you can stack, as you just heard me and Doug discussing, the higher the hurry-up total will be, or the higher the collect will be at the center saucer. And what a lot of players do is to try and stack all of them together and get the bill. So right there, he just did it for just 100. So it's, what is it, 100, 300, 500, and then a billion?
Then a billion.
Okay, so that's why players try and stack all 4 at once, is because of the extra points you get for doing all 4.
That was a player error there that forced that mistake. Hit a post and went right off his right flipper and down the center.
So, Doug, you don't see a lot of players just wailing away on saucers in this game, and there are some good points in the saucer. Why is that?
I was actually going to bring that up because this game is compared to Medieval Madness a lot in terms of both layout and rule set. They both were designed by Brian Eddy, who worked for Williams. In Medieval Madness, a lot of times the tournament strategy is castle, 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 castle. And Attack from Mars, it's rare you see people go just for castles because it's more of a dangerous shot. In Medieval Madness, the castle gate is kind of off-centered and tilted, so you usually get a better feed to the flipper. This one, you're just wailing away at the wall right in front of you. It can just rocket down the middle sometimes.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Brian Eddy walked into Pinball, did Attack from Mars, Medieval Madness, in the shadow, and then just disappeared into the ether.
We can say that as far as Pinball's involved. I believe he still works for Williams and makes boatloads of money. He just doesn't do pinball
Obviously,
anymore.
Brian's still around, but he he pretty much just came in and dropped 3 bombs that are considered great games, and I don't think he did anything else, did he? I know he worked on other games, but is he primarily credited with doing any other games?
I believe those were the ones where he was the lead on.
Okay.
There may be 1 or 2 out there, but those are the ones everyone loves, so those are the ones we're going to talk about.
Here we're watching Pete Hendricks. Pete's not doing too well this round. I think he only has 1 point coming into this game, so he's going to need a little bit of mathematical help to advance. And in the event that doesn't happen, we're going to get Pete over here in the booth, and we're going to ask him about his hat. Pete's from Washington, Pennsylvania. He's one of the players in the Pittsburgh Pinball League, which is a league that's not going to help Pete advance. He's a member of the PPL, which is a league that you're familiar with.
Yeah, Pete was one of the founders. He's actually the only person who's been in all 20 seasons of the PPL. Had as many as 124 players in a single season. It's grown from 7 to 124, so very proud of it. Pete's done a lot of work, as a lot of tournament officials do.
Adam's not happy about that.
Oof. Sling, sling, outlane.
He gives a look over here at the booth, and we say, blame Doug.
I didn't do the setup on Attack from Mars. You can blame me for Iron Man.
I did it. So the Pittsburgh Pinball League is it's one of the bigger leagues in the world. There's a sizable league in France, from what I understand, and Seattle has an enormous league. Obviously, FSPA.
New York has the team league that's huge.
Yeah.
It's great to see leagues popping up everywhere because it's really a great introduction to pinball and competitive pinball. And if you have one in your area, even if you aren't involved, I would encourage everyone just to get out there, meet some local pinheads in your area, and play some competitive pinball. In most leagues, you have your hyper-competitive people at one end.
Check your IFPA calendar and see what's going on. And
I got to say, what a beautiful enhancement they've done to the IFPA calendar. Lots of credit to Brian Shepard, who you don't hear his name mentioned very often, but he does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work for IFPA and some of the tournament software that you see when you go to some of these major events.
Yeah, Brian's a great guy. There's a lot of good people involved with that organization. They're doing a lot of good things for pinball, and pinball is on the way up. So we're looking here at Chris Basler. It's Basler, correct?
I believe so.
And he only got the single danger there, where Adam pretty much had double right out of the gate. And he's got his locks lit. Probably going to see him attempt to plug those. 1, 2, 3, get into multi-ball, and see if he can chase down that billion in player 4.
Yeah, I'd be going for some quick, easy points in this game because nobody has really taken a hold of it. So I would probably go for that multi-ball, just shoot straight multi-ball and try and get some jackpots and hopefully the super off the top of the sling and right out.
Yeah, we haven't been talking about the game really a whole lot, but to be honest, this is one of the weaker games on Attack from Mars that we've seen all weekend. You know, from one of the weakest games on Attack from Mars all day, rather, not all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, people have been getting a hold of this game, and just it hasn't happened in this round. As we mentioned earlier, you miss your shot, and those wide open out lanes will really make you pay for that. So here's one of the younger up-and-coming players you'll see in competitive pinball, Timothy Street. He had a really good appearance at the Louisville, was it?
Yes.
He won the tiebreaker to get in, which was a really exciting game against the Pittsburgh local, Fred Cochran. Once again, he bricked his shot right out that left out lane.
So just to give a sense of scope, you are looking from a corner cam through the tournament area. This is one half of one room that comprises the Southern Pinball Gaming Expo. There are, I would say, about 5 other rooms. Doug's breaking out the map. There's about 5 other rooms that are stretched throughout the entire facility. We're in a Marriott down in Atlanta. And each room is dedicated to a different type of gaming. They have a console room. There's a room for Xbox. There's a PlayStation, a dedicated PlayStation area. And really just a well-run event.
Yeah, they had a room with a bunch of old consoles. They had a Vectrex in there. I haven't played a Vectrex in a really long time, but I had a lot of fun last night jumping in there and playing a couple games on that.
Can I point out that Pete just said, "The hell with this, I'm shooting saucers"? One of the things I love about watching Pete Hendricks play, he's what we call a flow player. He doesn't stop the ball a whole lot. He just likes to let it rip, and definitely not afraid to take chances. We have an affectionate. Looks like we have a ruling going on over here on Dirty Harry in the background. Doug just got called out of the booth. I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll get you updated on that whenever I know the details. Anyway, as I was saying about Pete, he's not afraid to shoot dangerous things. And in this case, it's paying off. Doug stepping back in. Looks like we're going to get some details on what's going on the other game. So what's going on over there, Doug?
So over on Dirty Harry, Escher Lefkoff had loaded the gun, but it didn't load it properly, so the ball was stuck in there and not registering on the switch in multi-ball. So at Papa, as you know, we disable the interlocks, and what an interlock is on the modern machines, you open up the door and it disables all the high-power coils, so which means your flippers, your kickers, all that kind of stuff, so you don't hurt yourself if you're in there working on the game. Because these are games that other people have brought to this tournament, interlocks are not disabled. So in a case like that, what we have to do is we have to instruct the player, because he's in multi-ball, and if we open the door, the flipper's going to drop, he's going to lose his ball, and he'll be out of multi-ball.
So what is the point of an interlock? Why would someone design a feature like that into a game?
So it is for maintenance on the machine. So if the game is turned on and someone wants to get inside of it and work on something, the interlock is all the high-power coils in the game, the ones that can really give you a good juice if you would hit one of them.
The ones that'll make my hair stand up.
Exactly. So they disable it as a safety feature so that the only thing that's active in the game is low power.
Well, Adam just laid a goose egg on Attack from Mars, but that's not going to affect him, I don't think. He's still looking pretty good.
I'm pretty sure the Martians are winning this one.
He's in third. It's not quite a goose egg yet, but I don't think he's too upset because in the previous 2 games he gathered enough points to advance.
Yeah, he has already advanced, so he may not have been playing to the best of his ability. Sometimes you take a chance after you've been advanced to relax a little bit and maybe practice some shots on a game that you might not normally shoot for in case you play that game later and you need those shots.
So I cut you off. What was the resolution on Escher Lefkoff's situation?
So what we made Escher do is Escher had to shoot one of the kick-out holes, and when he did that, we were able to open the door. The ball won't kick out of the kick-out hole because of the interlock, so then we can open the door, extract the stuck ball, place it in the shooter lane, close the door, and then he can continue playing his game without losing his multi-ball.
So Timothy Street is stepping up. He's back 1.2 million points. Looks like he is 4 shots away from total annihilation, and this is not good.
He's got the ball on the wall.
And if this ball searches, then it's going to kick it out, and I've seen this go down the middle several times.
Here comes. Oh, he actually got a really good feed there.
Yeah.
He's lucky. Really lucky.
If you're a pinball player, that's typically a spot that you don't want to see the ball hanging up there, and right between Ironmonger's legs on Iron Man is usually a bad situation.
So what would be the ruling there, Mark, if the ball's stuck on that lip? Do we have to? Does the player, are they required to wait for a ball search to knock that out, or can they call for a stuck ball?
Well, they can call for a stuck ball, but the rules state that it has to go through a ball search before we can declare it a stuck ball. Moving into the booth here is Adam Lefkoff. Adam, how's your round going? It seems like you put together a monster Attack from Mars game, but otherwise it was pretty good.
Yeah, I got tired of playing. I felt like I had enough. I really thought 300 million would be enough to get the win. I'm surprised.
So let me ask you, Adam, when you're moving into a game like this and you're pretty much locked up, you pretty much know you're going to move on.
I needed a point, so I wasn't going to move on. I was going to get myself into a tie with that effort.
Hey guys, real quick, Timothy Street's about to.
He's going to get to a tie with.
What's the point situation here?
Chris has 5 points. Timothy has 2. If Timothy, Chris will take last. Timothy will get through clean if he passes Pete Hendricks.
And I think he just did.
Wow. Otherwise, he would have been in a tiebreaker with me if Chris Brasler had passed me.
So it's looking like you and Timothy Street are going to be moving on out of your group?
That appears to be the case. Chris is going to be very disappointed. It was 6-5, 2-1. Timothy had to win, and he needed a little help.
Wow. Nice job.
Look how excited he is.
Yeah, nice job.
Good hug from Escher there. Those kids, they roll together.
So, Adam, what's your experience with the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament so far at the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo? Are things playing well? Have you had a good time?
Mark, it's been a really nice show. The space is great. They had 9 games set up, different errors. It was a good challenge. There were a lot of good local players. Guys, it was nice scorekeeping because I got to meet a lot of people and pretty good skills. And a lot of guys I've never seen at some of the other circuit events. And I, when I talk to them, I'm like, hey, you guys should travel some. Come to Pinburg, come to Papa, do other circuit events. Every local community seems to have players, guys that can really play well. And saw quite a few of them this weekend.
So how did you end up in the Classics tournament last night?
Classics was played last night. It was funny because I kept getting to play schlubs. I had this guy from Pittsburgh. Mark Steinman? Matt Steinman. Yeah, I heard he works at Papa. I think Bo and Cairns, the world champion?
Yeah.
I think that's his boss.
That's his personal janitor, actually.
So I got to play Mark Steinman twice. I had a good run, and I was able to beat Chris Warren in the finals late at night. It was actually a 2-day tournament, technically, so maybe the IFPA will...
get a few extra points for that. Maybe it should be 2 separate events.
We still got some good matches going on. Can we switch over to...
yes, we can. Let's go to Dirty Harry.
I was going to say Mustang.
Mustang?
I think is the
we
more...
haven't seen Mustang yet. Let's jump over there.
I'll tell you on that group, Trent Augustine and Escher Lefkoff, I think, are going to go through. They were the two. They were both at 6 points. And if either of them don't take last, then they're through for sure. Otherwise, there's a tiebreaker. I don't know what Trent could still be in trouble. Oh, he just took a little danger. That Dirty Harry was playing really nice yesterday. I played it today, and the safe house kicks out to the sling every time now, and 2 sling drains on it. Oh, but we're going to Mustang, so I'll stop talking about Dirty Harry. Joshua Henderson, who just stepped down, was player 1. He's only on 4 points. I believe this group is 4-4-2-2 right now. And look at those scores. I wonder if they've all played multi-ball yet. Probably, huh?
So I was talking to Brian Shepard about this game, and he hung, I think, 130 million points on it last night at the end of qualifying.
Without multi-ball.
Yeah, and I said, what did you do? You know, what are the rules? And I was looking for a real in-depth explanation. He said, I shoot the flashing yellow arrow. And that's pretty much it.
But he told me he was making a conscious effort to avoid shooting the gears in the center of the playfield.
I don't understand.
Is that like a protest game?
How does that make any sense? From what I understand, the gears are the primary feature to start multi-ball.
That seems to be what most people go for.
You know, it's funny because Escher plays it a lot, and he's like, some of the modes are really beefy, like $2 million a shot, and if you make them in combos, I think you get better value, or if you do them quick enough. Or I haven't played it enough to know all the modes. But.
Why don't you give a basic primer on the rules? What exactly is a mode in Mustang? Is that the yellow arrows that Brian was talking about?
No, the 6 cars you see flashing. Those are your 6 modes, and at the start you get to choose one. And unlike other games, that mode never times out. You have to finish it before the next mode is available.
Do you think that's a result of the Star Trek situation with the rules?
You can time out till you die, and that thing will still be running. You'll be cruising for the rest of your life. So, you know, it's a little different approach than Star Trek. I like to sharp out my modes, but you can't sharp them out here. There is one multi-ball mode, which is the bottom center one. And that's the problem is to get that, you got to drop your gears. And the gears we're talking about, it's hard to see on the overhead, but there are 5 drop targets there where it says shift. And if you drop them 3 sets, you will light multi-ball. And what's a really cool rule is if you can start multi-ball at that point, but your jackpots aren't that good. But if you drop another set, your jackpot value becomes higher, your super becomes higher. And you can get to gear 5 and 6, which means you got to drop them and hit a target behind them in a hurry up. If you get to gear 6, the super jackpot becomes, I believe, 25 million. That can be doubled. There's a doubler on the playfield somehow. I haven't played it very much. But the big scores, you see people get to gear 6 on balls 1 and 2, start their multi-ball, and...
So I see Steve has flashing green here. Typically in Stern games, flashing green insert means lock or multi-ball.
His multi-ball is lit, and you can tell he's at gear 4. So he's, I think it lights sometimes at gear 3. No, it's gear 4 that it lights. He, with only $1 million to get, I think he's probably already, he's one of the 4s here. Actually, Steve should be in the lead of this group. We got to check the scoring. He just wants that multi-ball. The other interesting thing about Mustang is the flippers are a lot deeper than other. That was a nice little bump. Other Stern games,
which is unusual. Usually the lower playfield is something that you don't see a lot of variation with, or at least the flipper alignment.
That's true. And what happens is a lot of times you'll do dead bounces. Your brain will say dead bounce, and that ball will just go right down the middle because they're so steep.
One of the games in the bank here today that we may see a little bit later is World Challenge Soccer, and I've been having a lot of conversations with Brian Shepard about it, who had played a bunch of it during qualifying, and he was saying how having to adjust between the different flippers, Gottlieb and Bally and Williams and then Stern and whatnot, is sometimes an issue. But on this World Challenge Soccer, there's lightning flippers, and so he said it's really not as big an adjustment as it normally would be whenever you're moving to a Gottlieb of that era.
I really enjoyed the lightning flippers on this one. You can hold the flipper up on the left side and it always stops, but on the right one you got to do something. And we all spent a little bit of time trying to figure out what the best thing to do on that right flipper.
So there's a 10.7 million super jackpot.
Yeah. So what happens is your jackpots are fixed at like something very low, 200,000, or maybe on gear 4 it's like 400,000. So there, jackpot 300,000, right? So you get a progressing number of jackpots, and you can get them just on the drop targets. You get enough of them, and the super lights, but it's timed. On the left ramp raises, or what is it? It lowers actually. So you got to make the big ramp shot. So here's a jackpot. He probably needs one. It's up to 400. I think he needs maybe one more here to light the next super. Well, let's see. He's getting, all right, so now the super's lit. You see it strobing. A nice post pass there. And boom, there's his super for 23 million. That was doubled, I'm going to guess. I think it was a 10 million plus the... Steve's had some brilliant ball threes. Did you talk about what he did on Metallica at the start of this round?
No.
So Joshua Henderson was in the clubhouse with 75 million on an extremely tilty Metallica. Steve Bowden had $1 million and only like 2 hits on Sparky. And he survived a double danger and a lot of hits on Sparky and got to 20 million on his first multi-ball, and he went for it again. And he managed to get back to Sparky, started a second Sparky, got to 40 million, and as soon as it ended, his coffin multi-ball was ready, and he parlayed that into a 120 million point ball.
And all of that on a double danger.
All on double danger. So he went, and this is his first game of the round, so he went from, disastrous start, couldn't be worse, to suddenly he's, flying high. And Adam McKinney almost came back. I think Bad Beat, it was like 20 million, was last place in that group.
Yeah, Brian Dye had like 30 million on that.
Right, and so that was a tough beat for Joshua Henderson in the clubhouse at 75 when the other guys are at 2. Looked like a pretty safe score.
Well, I think Brian Dye in that game finished 4th with 34 million.
Yeah.
37 million.
Yep.
It gets really tough when you're talking players of this caliber at these circuit events. Your score is almost never safe. Anybody can come
That's
back.
absolutely true. And what we see here is Adam McKinney has already played multi-ball.
Speaking of Brian Dye, last night in Classics, he scored 12,000 points and rolled it. And then Adam McKinney, the player we're watching now, scored 16,000.
On 2001.
On 2001.
Right there is a Mustang drain, right? The flipper was so deep for Adam there. He still had the right one raised because it takes so long for that flipper to go back down. On a normal stern, that's probably not going to be a drain. So I believe with that finish, Steve Bowden will not be commentating for another round. And I don't know, is Joshua Henderson looking happy? We need that screen over there. Let me go find out what the results are.
While Adam's going to check out the scores, we're going to check in with the final group, who's currently playing Dirty Harry.
For anyone who would like to follow along on the bracket, if you go to the PAPA webpage, we should have a link to it right at the top. You will just click on the link that says Final Round Bracket, and you should be able to follow along with the players, the progress, the different rounds. We're currently in Game 3 of the quarterfinals. Once again, this is PAPA TV broadcasting from the Atlanta Pinvasion Tournament at the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo in Atlanta, Georgia.
So in that group, Steve Bowden got a 12. He parlayed that double danger Sparky comeback to win.
Round.
Yep, and it's funny how, if he had drained out there and not done that comeback, I bet he'd have a lot less than 12. But he did 12, and Joshua Henderson took second. Gets comfortably through with 6 points.
This actually seems like a perfect opportunity to discuss the finals format for anyone who may not know. Since all of the games score differently, we even out the scores by just saying if you get first place on a game, you get 4 points. If you get second place on a game, you get 2 points. If you get third place on a game, you get 1 point. And if you finish last, you get 0 points. And so the players play 3 games per round in groups of 4. And so the best anyone can do by winning first place on all 3 games is a 12-point sweep. Right now we're watching Brian Shepard play Dirty Harry.
So that should also be pointed out that 2 people from each group advance.
Yes. So half of them advance, half of them go home.
Which is a change from how PAPA scoring used to operate. You used to, even though the other groups were not with you, you were competing against them as well.
They would combine all. They used to combine all of the scores and just take the top half of the field. But now it's 2 per every group, and I think the players generally like that a lot better because you're competing against the players you're playing.
It's something you have
against.
control over.
Right.
Okay, so what's going on here? Brian Shepard has 2 points, and Escher and Trent both have 6. So Brian has to win and have Trent or Escher take last to get to a tiebreaker at 6 points. And Brian is doing his half of that deal right now, putting up a good ball 3 here.
How has this Dirty Harry been playing all weekend?
You know, it was playing really, really nice. I suspect Keith Elwood would have put about 12, 15 bill on it, one-handed, blindfolded.
I've seen that happen.
But this morning, I played it earlier, and that safe house kick out is dodgy into the sling. Makes it a much tougher game. I had the cannon rejected a ball during multi-ball. So, but you know what? The side ramp is eminently makeable, and it plays really nice.
That's one of the things when you see
little floaty,
Dirty Harry sometimes on location.
As
if you're
soon
lucky
as I
enough
say
to
that,
have one near you.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to have a strong upper flipper to make that ramp. It's a lot like Star Trek Next Gen that way.
Right. Oh, he was in shootout. I thought he was like done.
So as a basic primer on the Dirty Harry rules here, there's badges around the play field. There's the different modes. Does anyone want to go ahead and jump in and give a quick rundown of what exactly Brian is doing right now?
This is the shootout mode, which you get. I don't know. I never play it. I'm going to say you get it after all your badges. Not badges, I'm sorry. After your promotions. You get a chance to shoot all the bullets, but it's like a ball 3 thing. He had it lit on the right out lane. It's like a little bonus ball at the end. If you get to something or other. I don't play Dirty Harry a lot. I just shoot badges and safe houses. That's all I do.
So one thing we do know is that the sheriff badges around the play field, if you collect those, then that's going to light your multi-ball. And then there's a different series of modes at the safe house, which, correct me if I'm wrong, you light by shooting the upper ramp.
Yes, the side ramp. And you can stack them. I don't know if it's a setting or not. Come on, Trent. Jeez. Trent was Escher's.
Oh, it is.
Okay. Wow. Trent is Escher's co-pilot here. If he passes Brian, then Trent and Escher will go through. If he doesn't, then there's still a possibility for... There it is again. Same drain. Okay, so Escher is player 3. If he passes Trent, then it potentially comes Brian and Trent in the playoff. Let's see what Escher's got.
If you come into your ball 3 down 60 million, what are you going for?
60 million? I would just, safe house. All right, he starts a mode there.
Yeah.
Rant, look at that, 26 million.
Almost
pretty close at this
Card
point.
chase is pretty beefy. If you can make the magnet save shot and the side ramp. Oh, Esh.
He's almost
there. All right,
there.
let's see if this is a hurry up. Oh, I thought he got it in the safe house. Hard to. All right. Multi-ball is lit, so he needs to lane pass. Nope. Oh, wow. It started from the side ramp? What's he doing?
I think
wow.
That'll do it.
Jeez.
That'll do it.
That's my boy. When you start multi-ball from the side ramp, your supers are worth more. Oh, come on. What was that? That was a good shot. Sorry, I'm a little... there it is.
Adam's the proud papa of this young player right
God.
here.
Well, you guys saw how I did on ball 3, right? $550. He's past Trent, right?
Yes.
So now Trent is hoping that Escher passes Brian Shepard right now. It's funny. Trent was what we say Escher's co-pilot. Now they've switched seats. Escher is now driving for Trent.
Good control here.
Lovely. Let's see
So what do you have to do to light the super jackpot on
It's
this
always
game?
lit. It's always lit. There's no relight. And that's why you see guys like Keith Elwin and Robert Gagno just abuse it. You can two-stage that flipper. You see the magnet save, that purple light in the upper right corner is lit. So you can shoot it from the left flipper. It stops perfectly for a side ramp. Oh, lovely. Now, Brian Shepard knocked Escher out of Classics last night, so this could be a little payback. Boy, he's dialed into that headquarters shot. It's good ransom. If Michael Morrison were here, he would yell, yeah, whenever you get that was a good car chase. Look at that. He just knocked Brian Shepard out.
The fist pump there.
That's a little payback from Classics last night because Brian knocked Escher out. So they got a good little rivalry going now.
I heard that you also took some of your frustrations out on Escher in Classics last night.
I had to play Escher last night in Classics, and you know what? He won the first one, and I won the next two. It was a very close match, and I never enjoy playing against him, but he played really well, and that's, we just try to play well and enjoy it, and he had a great time. That's his first classics he's ever qualified for. He usually just does modern stuff. He's okay on these modern games. The classics,
just okay. Just okay.
So this is the hurry-up mode. This is your second Safe House Award, and he just locked it in for. I'm sorry. He's playing. This is the warehouse mode. This is every shot to the warehouse gives you contraband. The third one is extra ball or so. Brian Shepard has just walked up and shook his head.
So if you're just joining us, we're at the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo in Atlanta, Georgia. Papa TV broadcasting. I'm Doug Polka.
I'm Mark Steinman.
And Adam Lefkoff here briefly. In the other group, Bob Matthews actually did not make it through. He was the top seed in that other group. And I'm not sure who else was in that group, a couple local players. I got to go find out who that last group is, but it'll be an interesting semis. A lot of names people will recognize, and probably a couple or a few that you don't recognize. But everyone knows how to play.
That's one of the great things about the traveling circuit, going around the country. You get to see some of the local players who don't usually go to a lot of the national events, and there are some great players out there who we don't see on camera much. I know you were playing a fellow last night. Was it Chris Warren? In Classics, who put up some amazing scores.
Time Fantasy, man, he played it great.
And here the 4-ball cradle.
There it is.
And the opto interrupter on this, it's really hard to separate you. There's no wiggle.
Just blow that 4-ball cradle up. And
there you go. Now I would trade that.
It's a
I
little bit
believe
more
they call
manageable.
that the sombrero.
It's some nice work, tight work from Escher here. You see, he plays a lot, and he's
very methodical.
Yeah, he's very familiar with what to do when you're playing with multiple balls. He's got to the bill, which is a solid score for him on Dirty Harry. Oh, and another multi-ball is lit. Let's see if he does the. What a shot! He
rejects.
Yeah, the pinball gods should drain him. Just for that effort. That's cheeky there. I'm going to talk to him about that. Ooh.
So would you say that Escher takes more risks than you do when playing?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like he's a...
He beat Trent on Attack from Mars earlier in this round, 7.2 billion to 7.1 billion. And I was asking him, I'm like, how's your progress on your next multi-ball? And he's like, I'm on my 4th solve, sir. And I was like, stop. I don't even want to hear it. Stop talking. So, yes. He still takes more risks. But you know what? It seems to work for him.
Seems to work out.
He's not having any trouble at all with that upper ramp. It looks like it's pretty generous today.
Yeah, it is. The upper ramp is great. It's just that safe house kick out is the only wonkiness. But Escher getting some good time on Dirty Harry for he'll probably end up playing it next round too, I'd suspect.
With this format, a lot of times we end up seeing the same games in every round because the high seeds get their choice. And so what you'll see happen is a lot of the players who are... Nice clap there for Escher. As I was saying, what you'll see is a lot of the high seeds just kind of dial in on their games and get used to them and then keep on choosing them because they feel they have an advantage.
But that usually also means that the players who aren't getting choice are also playing the same game. So sometimes you'll see a guy have a really bad game on Attack from Mars, and then whoever's driving the bus the next round will take him back there, but he learned from his previous experience where the kickouts are, where the shots are, and you'll see them play a little bit better.
I think really just what it comes down to is players want to play safe games. They want to feel like they have a shot. They want to feel like that they're going to be able to put their skills on display and that it's not just going to be a luck box. I know we have we have an Iron Man here, and there's an 8-ball deluxe, and there's definitely skill involved in those games, but the randomization factor is so much higher that in a tournament setting, they're just not real common choices whenever you have games like Attack from Mars and Shadow and Dirty Harry next to them, where virtually every shot feeds it safely back to the flipper.
So also in this bank this weekend, we had a unique game that I haven't seen in a tournament bank before, World Challenge Soccer, which is a Gottlieb. A lot of players didn't know how to play that game, and there was a lot of conversation between players on what they need to do to play that game. Do you think that that's one that we'll see possibly in the finals?
Yes.
Yeah,
If
we
I'm
will.
there, you'll see it.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on who advances, because a lot of times whenever players see games like that in qualifying, they'll put a lot of time on them just to get used to them. And
I'm going to step out now and play the next round. And
right.
you were talking earlier, I had 300 million on Attack from Mars, and I get to drive the bus again. And I'm going to try again on Attack from Mars and see if I can't do a little better this time.
Are these the two separate groups here?
They are.
So we have Joshua Henderson, Steve Bowden, this Chris Tabaka, and is that Chris Warren? Yes.
It is.
And then we have Adam Lefkoff, Timothy Street, Escher Lefkoff, and Trent Augenstein.
So 2 old grouchy fellas and 2 young upper whippersnapper kids.
I'm pulling for the youth.
Yeah? Are we going to get to watch, are we going to get... Well, since you have a little skin in this game, what would you recommend we follow here?
I would say follow the Henderson and Bowden group.
You don't want us to put your failure in on camera?
I suspect, I don't know, we need a voting, we need the ability for our chat room to be able to vote. I think they'd probably like to watch Escher and Timothy beat up on me and Trent.
Adam, I've been razzing Adam all weekend because in the Classics tournament last night, he beat me twice, and so I try to get pot shots in any chance I get. Good luck to you, Adam. And
Good luck, Adam.
Thank you. I hope I don't talk to you for a while.
So there goes Adam sitting in for a moment.
We're going to see what games are chosen and then make a decision on who we follow then. We're going to try and get a variety of games onto the camera today.
I really hope we can get a World Challenge Soccer in there, because
I'd like to see that as well.
and a lot of players after this weekend, we're left with the impression that that really is a good tournament game.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird. It's a quirky game, but players enjoy it. It was one of the games that Brian Broyles earlier during setup wasn't sure if he wanted to bring it in, because you don't see it a lot of places, and a lot of times games will have exploits or different just things that players can do to make them bad tournament games, because they'll either take forever or they're just so obscure. Yeah, that's a good point here, Doug.
We'll pull up the playfield here so everybody can see what it looks like. The one modification they did to the game is they did disable the extra ball target, because one of the random awards, as I understand it, is to light the extra ball, and there's no way to turn that off in the settings, so they just disabled the target. That seemed like an acceptable solution. Once again, we're at Atlanta's Southern-Fried Gameroom Expo at the Atlanta Pinvasion in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Doug Polka along with Mark Steinman, broadcasting live on Papa TV.
The delay right now is we're waiting for the next round to get started, and players have to pick their groups. Yeah, so we're looking at this this playfield here. It's kind of unique. It's not something we see a lot. And as I was saying, sometimes games have exploits that make them bad tournament games. And Brian Broyles was a little shaky on whether or not he wanted to put this in. And we asked around, and no one knew of anything that was bad in the rules or bad in the playfield that would caused a long game time or problems. And so we said, yeah, go ahead and put it in. And from the players that I've talked to, it turned out to be one of the more fun games. Sometimes these high-level players get bored playing the same stuff over and over and over. As we were talking about earlier, you see a lot of Dirty Harry, a lot of Attack from Mars, and a lot of these controllable games because they're safe in a tournament final setting. And then whenever players are forced to jump onto something like World Challenge Soccer, it's like, hey, this is a breath of fresh air. I get to play a play field that I'm not used to. I get to take shots at angles, that are a little bit different, and I get to try and use some skill and some strategy to work through a different new rule set.
Yeah, and I think from a tournament director's perspective, sometimes you get nervous. For example, these are all crowdsourced games. People brought these games to the tournament to be used in the tournament. I can see Brian's point from a tournament director. You don't see a lot of World Challenge Soccer. I couldn't tell you the last tournament I ever saw it used in. And you're trying to put on the best event possible, and you're like, I don't want to put in a game where there's one shot where people are just going to loop it over and over and over and over and over again and end up with huge scores because it's boring and it's no fun. So I can see why Brian was a little bit apprehensive about putting this in the bank. It turned out to work well.
As a tournament director, you're always a little bit wary of the Gottliebs, too, from this era, because they have some pretty unusual situations. Some of them do have some bad rule quirks. I know that back at the PAPA facility, we've been hammering a bunch of games of Vegas recently, just trying to explore that rule set for all it's worth. And we've discovered there's the ability to loop 10 million shots on the left orbit in a
But
game.
I got to cut you off a little bit there. If you have a chance to play Vegas, you must play Vegas.
Oh, definitely play Vegas. The game is absolutely worth it. It's actually one of the most fun games that I've been sinking my teeth into for a while now. But in a game where, you know, at Pinburg, you're seeing 3, 4, 5 million point scores. There, you know, if you set the game up right and navigate the rule set, you have the ability to loop 10 million shots, you know, and repeat them, seriously? And then if you actually spell Vegas and get through it, it lights a stand-up that you can double with multi-ball for 16 million a shot on the stand-up. And this is a game where 4 and 5 million points is a big score.
So with all those positives, however, there is one huge negative. And that would be the double or nothing shot.
I think that's a positive.
Which, joining us in the booth now, Pete Hendricks. But the double or nothing, what it is real quick before we get to the next round is there's basically a mystery award that is double or nothing. And what it will do is it will either double your score or it will reduce your score to nothing, all zeros. So that's a really bad beat if you are totally dominating that game and you get the nothing.
Just adding a couple thoughts to what you were talking about with World Challenge Soccer. That game belongs to Ray Smith, and Brian checked with him, since he was the game owner, about things that could go wrong with it, and Ray took out random mystery awards, and he was sure that there wouldn't be any exploits. Part of being a tournament director is trusting the people that are bringing the games and that they know all the possibilities with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, if you're a new tournament director, there are actually some resources available on papa.org. There's a director's guide, and in that director's guide, there are a whole series of game notes that we've added in based on our experiences. So,
did Henderson just give us the fake out, or are we actually going to play Metallica?
I'm not sure. I think
he's walking up to it now. Okay.
These semifinals are pretty exciting. We have a lot of the pinball youth, and they all seem to be great sportsmen. Josh taking a minute to shake all his opponent's hands.
Josh is a very courteous player. He's someone that you want to see and you don't want to see in a tournament setting, because you want to play him because he's a nice kid, he's a great guy, comes from a good family, and he's someone you don't want to see because he'll kick your butt. He's a really good player. So we're looking here at Metallica. It looks like this group's getting started first, so this will be the one that we follow this particular round. And once again, just to refresh everybody, this is going to be Joshua Henderson, Stephen Bowden of FunWithBonus.com, Chris Tabaka, and Chris Warren. And game one is going to take place on Metallica. We'll keep you updated on the Lefkoff Street, Lefkoff-Augustine matchup as well. But if you want to follow along, the brackets are accessible via papa.org. There should be a link at the top of the webpage, and I believe they are updating that.
So, Pete, on ball one, you're stepping up to Metallica, and we should point out this is the LE or premium version. Stepping up, ball one, ready to plunge your ball. What are you looking at? What are you checking for? What are you shooting at?
Well, being that the LE's not that different from the standard one, there's not much extra to look for. You look for the outland rubbers and see what's been removed, if anything. A lot of it is just watching hopefully get a chance to watch the player before you, see how the magnet around Sparky's acting, the kick out from the mystery hole, the kick out from the snake. So try to gather as much information as you can before you actually play.
So I'm looking at the color of the flipper rubbers, and are these also Titan pinball rubbers? Because they don't appear to be normal HAP.
I am not sure on this game, to be honest with you.
They're just that same colored orange that we see on Attack from Mars, which makes me wonder if these are also the
Titan
pinball rubbers.
Silicone pinball rubbers.
And for anyone who's curious why we're talking about the flipper rubbers, the players notice whenever you get to high-level pinball, players are very aware of what the structure of the flipper rubbers is made of. What's sort of the compounds, the types of flipper rubber. They're definitely aware of how they affect gameplay, and there's certain flipper skills that are made easier or more difficult depending on the consistency of the rubber or the type. So looks like Josh Henderson dives right into Sparky Multi-Ball, and Sparky Multi-Ball, you're going to want to pick up the 4 guitar picks, which he just did. The guitar picks are the little triangular shaped flashing white inserts that line The tombstones, 2 of them, 1 to each side of the tombstone on the left side of the playfield or the right ramp. And during multi-ball, you want to pick off each one of those.
Preferably while your ball saver's going.
Yes, and then that will light the snake for an add a ball and double scoring. And the snake is the big green snake head. That's an easy one to describe. Pete, how's this Metallica treating you this weekend? Did you get a chance to put any games on it?
I only had to play it one time. I put up like 130 million the first time I played it.
Well, that's a pretty good score on
I
this,
got a very quick Sparky, and during it I crushed the captive ball that I was so close to coughing.
Well, that's an interesting point. One of the things that you can do in pinball
Tough drain
is use modes in multi-balls to start other modes in multi-balls, and you can't always start everything in everything. A lot of times by starting one particular mode, you'll be locked out of other aspects of the game. In Metallica, you can use Sparky multi-ball to move towards Coffin multi-ball, and Coffin multi-ball in this game, it really opens things up.
On my game, I had I had Crank It Up lit almost the whole game, but I kept being so close to different multi-balls, I just stuck with that approach, just playing multi-balls over and over. I finally did get Crank It Up on ball 3, and the players will have decisions here. What route do they want to go? Going for Crank It Up and big points, or going for the multi-balls?
So we have Chris Tabaka up now on...
No, this is Chris Warren.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris Warren up on Metallica.
Chris Warren, a local player from Birmingham.
So you mentioned about the Crank It Up modes. That's something new that the programmer just added, Lyman Sheets just added recently to Metallica. Basically what it is once you complete the 4 big inserts at the bottom of the playfield, the cross, the the electric chair, the coffin, and the snake, you will light on the mystery hole scoop a mini wizard mode. That's the Crank It Up wizard mode. And what's that all about?
I haven't played too many of them yet, but basically it's a one-ball wizard mode where shots continue to build up a jackpot that can eventually be collected in the mystery hole, and players will have a choice. Do they take the value of it at that point or continue to try to build it up?
So it's a big risk-reward.
Right. And in the first round, Josh got Crank It Up, and he built the jackpot up to 16 million. He collected it there, and it ended up maybe he needed more because Steve was able to run him down. It's an interesting dilemma. If you're player 1, what approach do you have? But it does add a element for players coming from behind.
That's one of those shots in pinball, too, that when you get it lit, it seems like it is impossible to hit. It becomes the hardest shot in pinball when you have that sit there waiting for you just to shoot it.
And I think we still have Steve Bowden to play. Is that number 4?
Yes, it is.
I think with the latest update to code with the Metallica, too, it's really become a super solid tournament game.
I think the Crank It Up rules in this game really added a lot of breadth to the rule set. They added a risk-reward scenario that I don't think was there in the early iterations, and I have to say this game went from being one that I was lukewarm on to being one that I really enjoy playing. And I'm not a huge fan of games that don't reward me for shots that I want to hit. Like in Metallica, well, that's kind of a poor way to put it. I'm not a fan of games that immediately put me in a lot of danger, but force me to hit things that do that. Like Sparky is a dangerous shot, but in the early iterations of this code, I feel like there really wasn't any other way to go about it. So you're basically just playing a coin flip. In later iterations, the scoring kind of mitigates that. I think the Crank It Up just adds a different dynamic to the game and makes it more enjoyable.
And it makes you shoot more of the playfield.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. It's really not dissimilar to the Creature from the Black Lagoon multi-ball. It's a game that forces you to explore the playfield. And one of the things that, well, frankly, kind of sucks about certain pinball machines is whenever they're one-shot wonders. Steve is saying there's no ball in the trough. That means you lose, Steve. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this. I don't know if we have a stuck ball somewhere or whatnot, but hey, pinball is a mechanical action game, and sometimes things don't happen the way you think they should. I had an interesting conversation with up at PAX East, which is a gaming convention in Boston, with one of the pinball designers. I believe it was for Farsight, and we were discussing how in the virtual pinballs they have to program for different variations of reality, but you know, in the real world the variations are infinite, and so it's not that they don't want to program games to do random or weird things. It's just that they're limited by memory, and you know. Hey, Pete. Looks like Doug's sitting back down here. We can get a better explanation of what exactly happened there with the game. So what was the issue up there?
So a ball got stacked in the trough, so it never kicked a ball out for Steve. So I manually actuated one in, and then it kicked out a second one. But the nice thing about Stern machines is if it has two balls in play, you can normally let one of them drain, and it will just figure out where it should be. So I just instructed Steve to drain the extra ball, and then he was able to play out his ball like normal.
Well, the game didn't treat him too well. Basically, players 3 and 4 have nothing going into ball 2. At the very least, even if you don't score a lot of points on ball 1, you want to start getting towards Sparky. Or
you want to hopefully get some Sparky going. You want to collect some of your, you know, crosses and coffins and stuff. Maybe get a little bit closer to one of the crank it ups.
So in the foreground here on Attack from Mars, we see Adam Lefkoff, who's just sitting with us in the booth, and in the background we have the is it the B Division Finals or the B Division Semifinals?
It'd be the semifinals.
And we'll have to get an update on that. I'm not sure if they're putting that bracket online as well, but if they're not, then we'll make sure we get you the information on what's happening in the B Division.
We have Josh Henderson stepping up to Metallica to play ball 2 with what seems like a rather large lead, but on Metallica, that's actually not a huge lead.
Yeah, we were talking earlier. Steve Bowden was in this situation in round 1, game 1. He was sitting there on a double danger with not much in it, and then pulled out, you know, roughly another 100 million points on a double danger. So everyone is still in this game. Players 3 and 4, even though they're under 1 million, are still sitting there strategizing, and you know, no one's got their head hanging low.
We've already talked about the snake multiplier during multipall. There is also a fuel playfield multiplier as well that can be collected. If you can combine the two, have quadruple scoring, your points will fly.
So where's the fuel multiplier at? How would someone collect that?
There are 4 targets on the left side of the playfield there. Fuel, actually I think it's 1 target that spots for each time you hit it, it gives you credit for 1. When you get enough of those, the left lane, sort of like the
left in lane or
creature
the
shot on the Monster Bash.
The dead end shot.
Yes.
Can you stack those multipliers as well? Can you get them both going?
Yes, you can. And that's what many players will attempt to do. They'll try to set up for a super jackpot, or in some cases light the extra ball, then get both multipliers so that you can maximize your scoring.
So to me, that's another good sign of a really solid rule set. When you have rules, basic rules that a normal player can step up and understand, but then when you get to a level like this, there's also the elite players that are going to wait till they start multi-ball till they have both of those multipliers going. Adds a little bit more risk, a little bit more reward, more to think about as a player when you step up to the game.
Chris, being 1 shot away from Sparky, takes the super skill to get the ball to the flippers fast and collects it. Last night, Chris finished 2nd in the Classics tournament here, losing to Adam Lefkoff.
So Chris is going to have to work towards the guitar picks to see if he can get his add-a-ball ready and get into that 2x scoring. And then after that, he's going to want to see if he can plug the dead end shot and get the... does it go automatic? It goes to 4x. Does it go 2 and 2?
It's 2 and 2, yes.
2 and 2. Okay.
So one could time out, and then you go back down to 2.
And at that point, it builds the supers up to 6-7 million.
I think the first Sparky with 4X is like 3.5, 4 million. But I mean,
okay,
there's tons of other points on the play field. Like there, that you got a 3 million super right there.
Okay.
And then you did see on the DMD, extra ball is lit. On this game, it rewards you points if you collect it over in the right mystery hole. I believe it's 2.5 million.
I think that's standard for Stern at this point.
But the multipliers do count for it.
So you could, if you have it doubled, it would be 5.
Right.
Nice clean shot up to Sparky here. Gotta love this. Gotta love the lighting effect that goes along with that. I was talking to Bowen Cairns once about his son playing this game, and he said his son didn't want to hit the Sparky shot, and he said why? And he says I don't want to hurt the little guy. Made me laugh.
It really is it's a simple mechanism too. It's just basically a bobbing head on a spring with a coil behind it.
Yeah.
But used with the lighting, it's a great effect. It's a good design. John Borg designed Metallica, rule set by Lyman Sheets.
Yeah, there's a little bit of the Monster Bash lighting in this game whenever it kind of builds up to Sparky. You get to see it start at the bottom of the play field and just sort of grow up towards it. It's really a great effect.
And while a lot of people dislike the use of LEDs, I think it really adds the ability to just turn it on full blast at times. It really adds a lot to some of the light shows.
You know, I have to admit, I'm one of those people. And it's not an issue. I think the issue that a lot of players have aren't that they look bad, because they look great. The issue is that pinball, in a lot of situations, are in areas with very low ambient light, and it's just difficult to see or follow the ball. Whenever you're talking about a game where,
wow.
Right into
the
Tombstone.
multi-ball. Unbelievable.
Just to finish that up, whenever you're dealing with a game where it's really high precision and you're talking about milliseconds mattering and tenth of millimeters making a difference, and if you can't track the ball, you're at a massive disadvantage.
Some games don't convert well to LEDs, and I've also seen, as somebody who has games on location, I have a lot of LEDs in some of the games. A lot of times it's the quality of the LED you put in the game as well. The lower quality LEDs do not provide the lighting that you need. You need to have, if you're going to use LEDs in your GI, you need quality LEDs in the GI, because if the entire play field is lit well, then the LEDs don't really matter.
And we're sitting on 41 million here with Ball Saver still going. As we were talking about, there's a lot of points on this game if you stack things in the right order, so none of these players are out of it at this point.
And during the multi-ball, you can collect the items towards Crank It Up. You can see that Chris has 3 of them completed. All he needs is to collect some snakes. And I believe at this point, every shot, every major shot is...
He's got it lit.
He's got it, yes.
So now he wants to shoot the mystery hole on the right.
There. Oh, just missed a little high.
Which quickly becomes the hardest shot in pinball.
Almost got the slingshot to put it in there for him. That's always nice.
This seems to be one where it's really more difficult to shoot it straight in. It seems to bounce in a lot easier than
just close your eyes and machine gun flip. It'll go in eventually.
Usually when I have it lit, I like to shoot it off the left slingshot, man. Tends to work out well for me.
It is amazing how whenever you only need to do one thing, it just becomes the hardest thing in the entire game.
He's taken at least 4 shots at it at this point.
Left sling. Left sling. No, I'm not going that route.
I'll talk to him about it after this game. Oh, man.
Nope. Just instead of rolling it over with a little nudge, he fired away at the tombstone and Bally bricked down the center.
But it'll be lit for ball 3, and he made some great progress there.
The good news is he destroyed it on that ball. He's got 50 million. He's got double the second place score right now, and it's only ball 2.
He's in a good place for sure. But now he gets to think about a Crank It Up waiting for him and the shot he's got to make for 3 more players. See if the nerves affect him on his way back in. Here's Chris Tabaka stepping up to the machine. Chris really didn't have much into it on ball 1. See if he gets a chance to control it and put his skills on display. Going for the super skill shot, looping it around, firing it into Sparky. trying to make the most of that short little ball saver they have there. You see a lot of players oftentimes will take the riskiest shots in a game whenever during the grace period at the beginning of a ball, just to try and get them out of the way or get a feel for them, or usually just a lower risk to get it over with.
If you're going to shoot for scary stuff, it's good having insurance as a ball saver.
One of the mistakes that you see novice players make a lot of times is they'll try and save balls whenever the ball saver is lit at the beginning of a ball or at the start of a multi-ball. The more advanced players are always aware of whenever that insert is flashing between the flippers, and you'll see them just let balls go if it's not in a position that they want to be in. They will not shake the machine and just kick it back out into the trough. So here we see Chris Tabaka moving into Sparky multi-ball, and in Sparky multi-ball, as we've described several times, you want to work on the guitar picks and then shoot it into the snake to get your out of ball and your 2x, and then if you're feeling particularly brave, you can try and double that 2x by shooting the dead end shot on the left side, the little left alley. And also, I would say a sub goal during this, in addition to picking up the jacks and the super jackpot, is to get to get some shots on the coffin and just start working towards that.
So are you allowed to stack coffin with this multi-ball?
I don't believe so. I'm not crazy here, Pete. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can work towards coffin in electric chair. I don't think you can start it and stack it, but you can take shots at it.
You can build towards it. I know one of them, when Steve's game, he did start coffin in the middle of a different multi-ball. I think that may be a settings that can be set, whether you can actually start it or not. But I believe in this one, you can start coffin in the middle of the multi-ball.
Oh, okay.
But with the LE here, there's a lot of issues with the hammer hitting the ball into the coffin and collecting the locks.
Does the software compensate for that? Sorry, I cut you off. I believe you're talking about that the hammer doesn't work all the time.
Right, and Lyman has programmed in settings now that you can choose how you want the hammer to react. And I believe they have it set where if the hammer does not catch a ball, it will.
That's correct. There's now a virtual lock on the game, so once you've earned the lock, you will get credit for the lock, whether the hammer mechanism functions properly.
So essentially, it is playing like a regular game.
Maybe at Papa we can modify the hammer just to stay down all the time.
At Papa, we don't have a hammer.
We have the pro models.
We have the pro models.
I'm sure that'd be an easy mod to put in. The Eckert sledge.
Usually we only drop the hammer on games we don't like.
Yeah, our technician, Steve Eckert at Papa, he's a magician on some games, but he's not real friendly to the players in that he roots against them at all points. He's always rooting for the game to win. And I guess, whenever you fix games, and
the game always wins.
Yeah, for 30 straight years, that you may as well go that route. So he's not too far away from Tombstone here on the left side. It looks like he's a hurry-up lid on it. And does he have 2 drops down?
He's got 2 drops down. He's got 1 remaining. So, but interestingly enough, he's going for Sparky. In that situation, I don't know, dude. With only a few shots left on the grave markers, do you go for that and bypass Sparky?
Pete,
because those drops will reset between balls.
Pete, what's your strategy? As Doug just said, since the grave markers reset in between balls, a lot of times if I'm playing this and I just get a couple random hits up there, I may as well go ahead and take the last couple of shots at it and try and get it going, because if you already get 1 or 2 drops down by accident, then it really kind of reduces the investment that you have to put into getting it.
Usually the deeper the drop target you're aiming for, the more consistent feed you're going to get out of that lane. Mm-hmm. That first one's a little sketchy. You don't really know where it's going to go, but the ones in the back seem to be safer.
So Joshua Henderson here is stepping up, 21.878090.
But to answer your question, Mark, yeah, that's the way I approach it. If I accidentally get some, then I will attempt to finish it if I have nothing else to go for. But it's nothing that I focus at, because you don't want to get 1 shot away, drain, then you've made no progress to anything, and it's going to reset.
Stayed alive.
Yeah, he needs to not touch this.
He needs to let it sit for a minute. He's going to take a break. take a look at the playfield, see what he needs to shoot.
So for anyone new to pinball, these dangers that are coming up along the DMD, they occur because there's a mechanism inside the cabinet of the game, and it's basically a little plumb bob. It's a little weight that will swing around inside of a ring, and if you move the game hard enough, that little weight will contact the ring, and it will give you a danger. And you can typically only do this 3 times in a game. You get 2 dangers, and then if you do it a 3rd time, it will tilt your game, and that is the etymology of the word tilt. Whenever you see poker players go on tilt, it's because they freak out, and a lot of times pinball players will freak out and shake games, and that will end everything for them.
So here we go. Josh is going into a Sparky multi-ball.
And the movements don't have to be anything substantial to get a tilt. As was seen in Louisville, Josh Sharp threw a game a mile and got nothing.
Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about that one forever. I think if anyone wants to see one of the most egregious slide saves in the history of competitive pinball, you can see that on the Louisville broadcast from earlier this March. You mentioned there's different types of tilts, and it's true because a lot of times they're iterative. A lot of times there will be a bunch of small nudges that will harmonize and build up into a plumb bob swinging much harder and farther than you think it would, and then some plumb bobs just take a lot longer to settle.
I think you guys were showing the attack game that I played in. I tilted off ball 2, and there was really no movement, just the adding up of a little bit of upward force as I flipped, and that was enough.
Or if you're not paying attention and the guy in front of you moved the game a lot more and you didn't know that and come up and didn't compensate your play for it or didn't wait long enough, a lot of times you can walk into the back end of a swinging plumb bob from someone else's move.
So Chris is stepping up here, and I wonder if he knows the trick on the super skill shot. He's got Crank It Up lit. On a properly set up Metallica, if you hold in the left flipper and full plunge it and keep the left flipper up, it will bounce off the left flipper and into the mystery hole. So he could actually start Crank It Up without ever really taking a shot at it. And it looks like that's what he's going to try, but he didn't get a full plunge on it. And he hits it anyway.
Just like you draw it up. So Crank It Up is a mode where you choose a song, and each particular song has a different rule set. And it's a risk-reward mode in that you spend the mode building up points, you're just building up your jackpot, but you only collect the jackpot by shooting all 4 major shots in the game: the grave markers, the electric chair, the coffin, and the snake, and then collecting it back at the Crank It Up to kind of cash out the mode.
And this is really where the game can start to open up, and you can put up some huge scores.
See, he was, for the couple shots that he did, or the one shot he did make was worth $2 million.
Yeah.
That's a tough drain, but he's got to feel okay about the $54 million he put up on it already. Another neat thing about the Crank It Up modes, if you're more into the aesthetics, is that the dot matrix display, the animation on some of those are absolutely incredible.
I see Adam Lefkoff just dove into Total Annihilation over here on Attack from Mars. He's also in view. He's sitting at 2 billion points. We'll get an update on that game here whenever we can.
So when you step up to a game like Metallica, you have 6 million, first place has got 50 on your last ball. What's the best way to get points quickly?
Pete, you want to jump into that?
I would pick which multi-ball am I closest to and go after that. Unless you're like maybe 1 or 2 shots away from Crank It Up, then that's the route that you want to go. Little flipper error there. Chris will not be happy about that.
Well, he only needs Steve's stepping up, and he only needs 6.2 to get a point. And I think Steve's going to step up and I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see if he's going to make strategic plays to try and just get the 6 million to get a point
he needs,
or it doesn't even matter because he's like 2 away from Sparky.
That's the route he's going to go. I mean, he has nothing else.
Yeah, well,
remotely close at this point.
The decision making to get the extra 6 or to get the 30 are the same. You're just going to go ahead and move into Sparky and then try and rip out a couple doubled supers.
So he's in the exact same boat he was in last round. Not many points, ball 3.
Short plunge. See if he can take a safe shot up the center without validating the playfield. Looks like playfield is validated.
Nice.
We're in,
Nice.
we're in danger time now.
He does his best work under pressure.
Steve wants to shoot it straight up the center from the left flipper. Should probably post pass here, get it over there, and he's going to want to shoot this up to the Sparky. Sparky is now lit. He needs one more shot. Another post pass. Take his time. Focus on the fundamentals. Take a clean shot up the center to start Sparky multi-ball, and then enjoy.
So this is step one to getting to 54 million and taking first place.
During these early seconds, he'll be looking to see what picks he needs to get the atta ball. And
looks
it's
like he needs all
four.
four.
All four.
So as Mark mentioned earlier, this is when, while your ball saver's still going on the multi-ball, you want to pick off those guitar picks because they're incredibly dangerous shots.
Now he only has the one all the way to the right of the right ramp, and then that's going to light the snake for the doubler. Now, got it. Snake is lit. Ball saver has just ended. And it didn't count it. It fell out of the snake.
That's tough because he just hit a super jackpot.
Yeah, and the super was not doubled. There it is. That one stuck. So now he's adding balls back into play. He's got a ball saver going. Playfield is at 2x.
He intentionally let that ball go.
It doesn't seem like much, but still 20,000 a pop. They add up.
And he's halfway to the 31. He's already eclipsed. He's got the 6 million he needed to catch up to the 8.5. So he's already sitting at a point. This is ball 3 of game 1 of the semifinals against Steve Bowden, Chris Tabaka, Chris Warren, and Josh Henderson.
So now he trapped up, going to assess the situation. Looks like he's got the super jackpot lit at Sparky again.
This is a perfect example of someone thinking through their progress here, and using the skills that you have.
Separation.
A beautiful cradle separation there, and you see a lot of new players to pinball rush. You see a lot of them just they panic and they hurry and they think they have to get those points right now. But the points, more often than not, aren't going anywhere. Take your time and make sure you make the correct play and think through the strategy.
And so an interesting thing, I don't know if he did it on purpose or if it was unintentional, but in his Sparky multi-ball, he had managed to knock down all the targets for the grave marker, so that's where he was going next to hopefully start that multi-ball, but tilts out.
So see, Steve tilts away his bonus, but he wasn't going to have 11 million in bonus, so that didn't come into play.
Chris Warren with the win there and 4 points.
Yeah. Chris Warren with the win. It looks like Chris Tabaka came in last and Henderson came in second. We're going to keep following the same group just so we have some continuity. But in the meantime, we're going to check over to Attack from Mars because in the PAPA format, they can't pick their game. I believe they're the lower seeded group, correct? So they're not going to be able to pick their game.
Yeah, Josh's group would be the higher seeded, so Josh's group could go on if they wanted, but I believe Brian's just letting them finish. And this Attack from Mars game, Adam is in the house at 3.2 billion. Trent's out at 2.3 billion. Escher will be taking a 0. He had 640 million, and Timmy is up 1.3 billion.
And there's Brian Broyles in your frame. He's the hero of the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament. This is the fellow who's been putting in a lot of hard work to make this event run. We're going to get him on the mic a little bit later and interview him.
Yeah, if you've ever put on a tournament of this scale, you appreciate the amount of work it takes to put into it. And for people that just go out and play in your local tournaments, be sure and stop and thank your tournament director and your scorekeepers and anybody who helps get it running, because a lot of times they do it for little or no reward, and it's more just something to promote the game.
And can I say that Brian's also a hell of a nice guy?
And he's got better hair than Billy Mitchell.
Yes, he does. That is absolutely
proven
has been affirmed.
At the end of this round, I'll have something interesting to show you guys.
Oh, all right.
That's what we call a tease in the business.
A little bit of suspense.
Call that a tease.
I will say Billy Mitchell is a clue to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
So Pete has a lock of Billy Mitchell's hair.
He cut it off. All right, we need to go a different direction here. What's going on with Attack from Mars? Who are we waiting on?
We're
here?
waiting on Timmy.
So Tim Street's going to step up at 1.3 bill. Looks like he's still got some distance to Total Annihilation, but he only has one lock left to go to get into multi-ball, and one solid multi-ball should get him over the top here to at least get a couple points to catch. I think there's a 2.4 or something on the board. So we're going to see him shoot the lock shot just to the left of the... Oh, just missed it.
Ball save.
Okay, and there's the ball saver. And that lock shot there just to the left of the saucer is going to light the lock. He's going to have to loop that shot and then plug it back in there for the lock to start the multi-ball and then profit. There it is. Nope, didn't go the whole way around the ramp, so it does not count. Interesting. And that's a safe feed. Yeah, apparently that's a safe feed on this particular attack. And he's just changing up strategy here, going to the saucer, trying to get over the...
And that's what happened.
Trying to get over the hump to get
points.
One more point, but that strategy decision did not pay off.
So Adam Lefkoff takes first place with 4 points in that game.
Taking a picture of the score here, so he has it documented, and then he's going to go update the standings, and we'll move on to Game 2 of the semifinal round at the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament at the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo. I'm Mark Steinman, and I'm sitting with Doug Polka and Pete Hendricks. We have an all-Pittsburgh booth here for the quarterfinal and semifinal matchup at this tournament.
While he's doing that, I'm going to walk this over underneath the Attack from Mars camera and show it to everyone.
Actually, I have a camera right here on the booth where everybody can see it.
We're actually a little bit to the right here, Pete. No, that's the camera. That's the camera there.
The camera-shaped object.
So, what are we looking at here? It looks like we have some of Billy Mitchell's hot sauce. Is that right?
Autographed copy of Billy Mitchell's Papa branded
Papa 10 hot sauce.
Hot sauce.
Wow.
Nothing but celebrities down here.
So we have 7-year-old hot sauce is the big surprise. Is that
apparently Billy Mitchell has moved on from video games to making hot sauce. It is a bottle of Papa 11 hot sauce that he's autographed. It will be at the Papa facility if anyone ever wants to see it now.
This will be on display.
Well, I mean,
treasured possession.
I'm gonna put that on my Bojangles on the way home. I don't think it's gonna make it.
In the Kevin Martin collection of great antiquities, a bottle of Papa 11 autographed hot sauce got to rank up there highly.
Yeah. So that's actually the next event on the circuit coming up is the Papa World Championships?
Yes, it is. The Papa 17 World Championships taking place at the Papa headquarters on August 14th to the 17th. And I just received word that Adam Lefkoff is heading over to World Challenge Soccer.
It's too bad we're not following his group, isn't it?
Yeah. We're going to, as
he's warming up.
As excited as I am to see some of the World Challenge Soccer action, we're going to stick with the same group, as I said, for continuity and follow Josh Henderson, Steve Bowden, Chris Tabaka, and Chris Warren. They're making their decision right now. And I have been all but assured that if Adam makes the finals, we're going to be seeing World Challenge Soccer.
I'm really excited for that.
And we're going to be cutting over to X-Men.
X-Men's one of the newer Stern releases. This game, I believe, was designed by John Borg. In the tournament, we have the Pro version. It came in the Pro, Premium, and LE models. It late last year received a significant code update, which made it a pretty good game for tournament action. What are your impressions of X-Men so far, Pete?
I find it very enjoyable now that they have some good software updates. Initially, the software was incomplete, and it made the game almost unplayable for tournament settings. But now there's a lot more to it. You put a lot more strategies. what villains do you choose and when? Do you go for how early do you collect your multi-balls? What can you bring into those multi-balls, or do you take them initially?
And aesthetically, I mean, the game is gorgeous. The comic book artwork on the back glass and on the sides of the game, just it really stands out. Even if you're not a fan of the X-Men, I just think that kind of the artwork really pops off the side of the cabinet.
What we'll be seeing here is how quickly will the players, they'll almost all go after Wolverine right out of the gate. Will they try to bring a villain in with Wolverine, or just take him as quickly as possible?
So Wolverine's the big yellow blob kind of in the middle of your screen on the playfield right there. And how do you start a villain mode, Pete?
The in-lane rollovers, as you collect them, they will accumulate. When you have enough, they will either light the scoop on the left side for either mystery, or they will light it to collect a villain mode.
So here we see Josh Henderson stepping up to the game.
There are 2 multi-ball villain modes that are lit by hitting targets. You'll see 2 H's on the left side of the playfield to the left of the scoop. That would be for the Hellfire multi-ball if you hit those 2 targets enough times. And on the right side, there are 2 as well for Brotherhood multi-ball. Those seem to be popular villains to go for, being that they are multi-ball based.
And this game also features 2 magnets, one in front of the Wolverine target on the left, which will grab your ball and throw it, and one also a little bit further down in front of Magneto, which is the big red character at the top, which will throw your ball around as well, which adds to the randomness of the game.
Now Josh goes straight into Wolverine. The next thing he'll be trying to do here is to light the mystery hole so that he can get the Atta ball, and there it is.
Have you had a lot of playtime on this game, Mark?
Yeah, I've had a decent amount. This is a game that's went through a lot of different iterations of code, though. So I don't know if I know the current iteration here as well as I do some of the older ones, but I don't know. We'll find out here as we progress through the game. I'm just curious to see if the overall strategies that players employ have shifted at all. I do know that whenever I get older, I want to grow up and own a Blackbird, because as I see that thing fly across the back into the shooter lane, across the DMD for the Atta ball, it's just a pretty awesome piece of machinery there.
Now you'll notice on this game as well, there's a different type of flipper rubbers. I believe those are clear super bands that are on this game. And I've been told by certain players that the clear version of super bands plays the closest to real rubber.
Really? That's interesting, because I wouldn't think that the color property would make any difference.
I've actually heard that from multiple people. I'm not a good enough player that I even notice if there's a flipper rubber on the bat at all.
I would love to talk to Joe Scaletta about the Super Bands formula and see why a color property would actually make a difference, and see his input on that. I'll have to discuss that with him, and maybe on our next broadcast at PAPA 17, we'll get him up into the booth to talk flipper rubbers for a little bit. So Chris Warren here is a little bit upset that he got a quick danger.
Double danger.
Yeah, and unfortunately the ruling on that is play on.
Now, one thing you'll see on this version of X-Men, the virtual locks are on, as is usually the case for tournament games. If it's one on route, you'll see all the balls stack up underneath Magneto, and then when the multi-ball starts, they'll all collect on the magnet.
So what's the advantage of having the virtual locks on this game?
Well, it makes the mechanism more reliable. And also, I know on earlier iterations of the code, if the virtual lock is on, the Magneto insert for the lock will not be lit, but you can still shoot it to lock a ball. I don't know if that's still in this particular version of the code. I'm sure we'll find out.
Yes, it is. You can do that still.
So we're waiting for player 3 to step up. Josh Henderson put $6 million up on the game, and Chris put $450,000 on the game. as Chris Tabaka stepping up and cleaning off the glass. By the look on his face, it doesn't look like he's quite comfortable with this game choice.
Maybe it's the pressure. He knows he's already taken a 0 in the first game. Just calm your nerves, and
that's one of the benefits of qualifying high. If there's games in the final rounds that you don't want to play, then you got to put more effort into trying to get one of the higher seeds and driving the bus. The high seed in each group gets the choice of game or order, meaning that they can either choose the game that's going to be played or whether they want to go first, second, third, or fourth. So the high seed has the advantage because if they perchance like all of the games and don't care what they play, then they'll just play fourth and let someone else pick. But, you know, in this case, if there's games you definitely know you don't want to play, don't put yourself in that situation.
So as a tournament player, Pete, when you are in the position to drive the bus, how do you base your game selections? Do you base it on, boy, I'm really good at this game, or do you look at what your opponents maybe don't play well at and pick those games?
I think if you try to take that approach, you dig yourself into a hole. You want to play the game that you feel the best on, and if somebody beats you on your best game and you've given it your best, so be it. You want to play to your strengths, not to your opponent's weaknesses.
I know that Trent Augenstein, one of the players in the other semifinal matchup that's going on, he's known for going back through the qualifying scores, and he will pick games specifically based on the failure of the players that he's playing. If he sees that someone is not doing well in a game and he wants to and he wants to put them at a disadvantage, he will make his choices based on that.
We could ask you about that, Mark. You were a high seed last night in the Classics final playing Trent. Did you feel comfortable going to Time Fantasy yourself, or did you want to keep that away from Trent?
Well, actually, we were in kind of a unique situation last night because whenever you're playing in a Classics bank with a limited number of machines, if you're a high seed, you basically know what people are going to pick if the games are balanced, if there's clear favorites. Because whenever you're deep into a tournament, no one's going to want to play what we affectionately coin a luck box, a game where, you know, the randomization factor is so high that you just really don't know what's going to happen, or at least not with any degree of certainty. And if the choices are limited by that type of game being in the bank, I was in a position where I knew that Trent wasn't going to pick 2001, and I figured I was going to pick Embryon, and I knew that he was going to probably pick either Time Fantasy or Abracadabra, and I'm fine with either of those, so I took second and let him choose. And we ended up going to Time Fantasy, and he stomped me into dust. So it didn't work out, but, you know.
Just under 13 minutes of snail time.
Yeah, the logic was there. He got to 99 seconds on snail time in Time Fantasy 4 times and scored 4 million points, and that was... I took a nap and ate roasted a turkey and came back, and then we played Embryon and Genie afterwards. So Steve Bowden here, methodically working through the X-Men multi-ball. Looks like
in the Weapon X multi-ball.
And that guy is really not quick on the trigger finger there on the DMD. Usually if you got it lined up that well, you're going to go ahead and take the shot, but he's waiting for something apparently. Oh,
maybe he's discussing his
worst
evil
henchman in history. Yeah, the mutants need to come up with some different defense for this corridor system they have.
But he keeps coming back for more.
Is it the same guy, or is that a different guy?
No, it's a different guy. They're stormtroopers, which were also here.
Which were at
the 51st garrison of stormtroopers were at the Southern-Fried Pinball Festival. Moving through the villain modes now, jumping on to Sentinels.
Could be wrong, but doesn't somebody have a picture of Darth Vader with the Circuit Championship?
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. Darth took the Circuit belt. We have to buy a new one. So now there's 3 of them out in the wild. Daniele Azziari won the first year. Keith Elwin won the second belt, and Darth Vader has the third belt. I don't think we're going to see that one in this system anymore. But you know, the good news is that the guy who makes them is from Earth, so we're going to be able to get another one.
It's good promotion. It's good galactic promotion.
Yeah, we're hoping to expand, you know, Papa's reach, and that's one way to do it. The Empire definitely has a very wide reach, and you know, if people don't attend the events, they just blow up the planets. That was Aldebron's problem. It was actually a subplot of Star Wars. Most people don't realize it had nothing to do with Leia. It had to do with the fact they didn't attend Papa events. So Steve Bowden moving on here. 2 more hits to qualify multi-ball. Ball 2 is locked. Steve, great player, definitely knows what he's doing on X-Men.
I think one of Steve's best skills is actually his mental mindset as he goes into a game. Yeah. Steve is never rattled.
He's never rattled. That's a great point.
As you'll see right there, what Mark was talking about earlier, Steve is collecting locks by shooting it straight up the middle. That's one of the things that the virtual lock will allow you to do. If they were not enabled, he would have to shoot either the right Phoenix loop or the Rogue inner loop to the left of Magneto to get the locks.
The 2 green blocks.
So it actually makes it easier with the virtual locks on to lock balls?
Yes, it does.
It does. Oh, and that center metal post, it is shocking how much it sends balls to the outlet.
I believe they call that getting avatared.
I had not heard that.
Also another John Borg design. So Josh Henderson will be next up to the plate.
So still no one really with, I don't know, 8.4. It's still not really that big a separation in X-Men.
Is this a progression game where throughout the game you're building building up to get to the big points?
Stuff gets big. You get a lot of the because I believe in this iteration of the code you can stack modes, and the scores sort of.
That is one thing they did turn off. You can only get 1 X-Men at a time.
Oh, okay.
So some of them will probably be timed out if people are getting them, because essentially all they're doing is adding to the Magneto jackpot value.
What is the version of the code that they're at now? Does anyone know? Do we have that number?
I do not.
We'll look it up.
So Pete mentioned about collecting X-Men and collecting villains. What's the end game to that, collecting the X-Men?
If you collect all the X-Men or all the villains, there's wizard modes. I've never gotten them, so I couldn't tell you the first thing about them, and I don't believe we'll be seeing that today.
Oh, enough of that, then.
Great discussion.
I just found out earlier that the wizard mode to World Challenge Soccer is Super Riot, which is...
There's not just one Riot in that game. There's 2 of them. There's Riot and Super Riot.
One of them is Super. Ooh, wow, that was a... Was that
a nice bounce in from the magnet?
That was a wicked magnet throw.
Now, right now, Josh is in...
So Josh is shooting the right orbit, and he could just plug it right into Magneto, which is an easier shot. So this is a situation where he's not aware of the rule quirk, which I find hard to believe, because Josh is usually very knowledgeable in the modern Sterns.
And being that he was in the storm mode, that Phoenix shot really wouldn't have benefited him at point-wise any more than shooting it up the middle.
Well, we'll see how that plays out on the next ball. Josh's move, he's still in second place.
Chris Warren will be next up to the plate. He started off his first ball with a double danger, I think, which rattled him a little bit and led to a quick exit.
I'd be shocked if he didn't.
He's going to take some time. Yeah.
You know what? I think he actually just set his phone down on the game. It's below the camera, and I wouldn't be shocked to see if it has a timer on it ticking down. A lot of times players will wait a minute or so before they step up, and with adrenaline going and all the different things going through your head strategy-wise and whatnot, you don't want to sit there and count to 60, so you just hit go on the timer and wait. He's looking at it, checking to see if it's moving down.
And throughout the weekend, this game really hasn't been a particularly tilty game, though.
No. No, I can't say it's one of the ones that I've heard grumbling about. Actually, to be honest with you, I really haven't heard much grumbling at all for this tournament. I think Brian has these games set up really well.
They're down.
Yeah.
Metallica was the only one I really heard any complaints about.
You know what, though? You always get some level of, you know, oh, this game did this or this game did this. But, you know, that's just pinball. And, you know, things don't always work perfectly. I have to say it's been a really well-run event overall.
Awesome event. Chris starts out by hitting the skill shot on the side ramp. Immediately on a Magneto.
Chris is one of the better pinball players from the Dagobah system. And he's taking a pot shot at that right orbit, trying to lock a ball. So, Pete, whenever you're playing this game, do you have a particular villain mode progression that you go through?
Oh, I try to get the two multi-ball ones as quickly as possible.
What is that?
Hellfire Club on the left side and Brotherhood on the right side. If I happen to be right before Magneto multi-ball and I don't have the other two choices, I'll take Sentinels to bring into a multi-ball because that seems to light up almost everything.
Gotta love that magnet.
Ooh.
It's a tough drain. He seems to be a little bit off of where he wants to be shooting the ball.
So just as a recap, we were watching Game 2 of the semifinals in a matchup of Josh Henderson, Steve Bowden, Chris Tabaka, and Chris Warren. Chris Warren currently has 4 points. Steve Bowden has 2 points. Josh Henderson has 1 point, and Chris Tabaka has 0 points.
2 people from the group will move on to the finals.
2 people from every group, as Doug says, move on to the finals. Chris Tabaka is stepping up. I believe Pete is going to run off and check scores on the other group, so we can get an update on that.
At this point, also, you may see in the background, the B finals are going on as well, so we'll see if we can get an update on those as well.
If you would like to follow the bracket, you can do so. There's a link on the PAPA homepage. That's PAPA, as in Professional and Amateur Pinball Association.org. There should be a link there to the brackets, the qualifying standings, and also to the wonderful live video coverage that you are watching right now from the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament at the Southern-Fried Pinball Expo. I'm Mark Steinman, sitting next to
Doug Polka.
And we are watching Chris Tabaka here. Got 3.9.
Looks like he's shooting for that orbit to try and get another lock. He gets a reject halfway up.
Yeah. Gunner managed to get that one around. Boy, the magnets really do add a different dynamic to the game. They take an open space on the playfield where really you wouldn't expect anything exciting to happen, and just it changes everything. I mean, I know whenever I first played Tron, and I watched the recognizer, the spinning disc at the top of the Tron game, throw a ball halfway down the playfield, and then it just stopped and spun back up a little bit. I knew that I was in for something cool.
That's great design. It's a simple mechanism that adds complete, you never know what it's going to do coming off there, just like with the magnets. If
they're positioned well and integrated into the game properly, it can definitely add something positive to the experience. And he's got ball 3 locked. X-Men's one of the more unusual games with a 4-ball lock before you get to the multi-ball. You typically in pinball nowadays it's just 3, and then you get paid off. Pete, did you happen to get any score updates for us?
I did. The other group finished their game of World Challenge Soccer. Adam Lefkoff was the winner. He is now at 8 points. Trent finished second. He is now at 4. Escher took third. He has 1. And Timmy has 1.
So Adam will be moving on for sure out of that group into the final group.
All right, and that means that if Adam's driving the bus, we are going to be seeing World Challenge Soccer. He has already personally guaranteed me that.
Well, he just played it.
Well, in the final.
In the final. Okay.
So I will hold him to his word.
He will be the bus driver unless Josh moves on.
Okay.
Steve Bowden currently with a slim lead on X-Men, just taking in the situation here.
Slim lead, but ball in hand, so he's still feeling pretty good. And once again, you can see in the background there's another line of pinball machines. That's one of the open play areas here at the Southern-Fried Pinball Expo. This is only one room of about 5. There's 5 or 6 different spread out throughout the facility. It really is an entire... the event takes over the entire Marriott. So if anyone gets a chance to come down here to the Southern-Fried next year, I recommend it. I think you're going to find yourself pleased with a well-run event and a lot of different things to do. And being that this is the first year for it, I can only expect it to grow and get better.
Yeah, and the arcades will be open till 4 o'clock today. So if you're in the immediate area and you want to shoot down, come check it out for sure.
Ooh, little redirect there out of the scoop. Yeah, and you see that this is an example of Steve here took the lock at Magneto, so we were correct. Henderson just must not be aware of that little quirk in the rules, and I feel like it cost him. I feel like with his accuracy, taking a few chances at the wider shot straight up the middle might have paid off.
It definitely seemed like a curious choice if it was intentional, but the way Stern updates codes, perhaps, like you said, he was more familiar with an older version of it. Yeah. So that's what he was used to, and without thinking, that's what he went for.
I mean, the right orbit isn't incredibly narrow. It's got a real wide lower end, so it'll and the flipper's down there, so it'll guide the ball up into the area. But Pete, I mean, what's your opinion? I personally prefer to go up the middle any chance I get on this. I just feel like it's an easier shot to hit.
I agree with you. But Josh may have been. Phoenix is the right loop mode. It's a pretty easy one to complete if you get it started, but Josh may not have realized that he was already in the middle of another mode and he wouldn't be making any progress to Phoenix.
Yeah.
What we saw here is Steve having the Sentinel mode going with multi-ball, and his score has flown up to 28 million because with everything scoring points in that mode, just finished it very quickly.
And that's one of the tricks to pinball, is knowing where the points are and knowing how to bring them out in a safe way. We were talking whenever we were watching the Metallica game about stacking different modes and different different aspects of a game together. Sometimes you can stack aspect A with aspect B, and sometimes they're exclusive and you can't do that. In this particular case, Steve brought a mode into a multi-ball and it paid off, and it scored close to tripled there, or
he came in with
doubled. Just in one quick multi-ball. And we've already seen other players move through multi-balls too, so it's just knowing when to put what with what. And I think probably I think we all agree the best player in the world at doing that, it would be Elwin. I know we were watching...
you can pretty much stop at best player in the world.
Yeah, he's always thinking through, and it's so fascinating to watch these high-level players work their way through a game mentally. Playing pinball is so much more than just flipping away at it. There's so many strategic decisions, and so much risk-reward scenario that you have to constantly be updating in your brain. There's so much data that goes in. It's a sight to see. I remember watching Keith play this X-Men at Expo, at Pinball Expo in October. Another circuit event takes place outside of Chicago. And he was down, I think it was 25 million points or something like that, and he walks up to the game and he shot the scoop 48 times or whatever it happened to be, and lit Shadow King, and we're all sitting in the booth saying, what on earth is he doing? And then he rips through Shadow King for the exact amount of points he needs and wins the match. And we're sitting here saying, okay, well, this is someone who obviously understands how to play the game better than we do.
Yeah, there's way, especially on the modern games, there's a lot more to being a truly great pinball player than just being able to make shots and have flipper skills.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. It's like watching professional golf. Making the shot is, that's not going to do it. Just like making the shot is the prerequisite.
And right there, he could have tried to trap up and take the easy shot up the middle. Instead, he goes for the loop on the fly and gets it for Magneto multi-ball.
That was a huge outlane nudge right into this multi-ball, so he's going to get paid for that.
Sometimes, getting that one break out of the way, have one thing turn in your favor, loosens you up. See if you can get another string of favors here from the game. Ball saver's over.
So it looks like every shot is lit on this game for the jackpot?
Yes. And I believe you can collect each once, and you can use Magneto to relight them. Certain ones are worth more than others based off of what heroes or what X-Men you have played. So since he has finished Beast, I think Beast would be worth.
So just to clarify, the shots that you hit, or the modes that you play prior to multi-ball, come into multi-ball to make it worth more?
Yes.
$14. Sitting down with 14. The way this is going, sitting down with 15 million.
Players have had a hard time opening this one up.
That may be, sitting in second place, and it's not an incredibly high score for what we've seen historically on X-Men, but in this particular situation, not too bad. I don't think he feels, incredibly safe, but I don't think he's upset.
Now Chris is taking the right loops to get the Magneto locks.
He's got one more to go. Start his Magneto multi-ball.
He started Wolverine. Wolverine bounced into Magneto, but Wolverine was first.
X-Men has one of my favorite redirect shots in all of pinball. I would probably put it second behind the Quicksilver target sweep into the lid spinner. For anyone who knows that one, it's a little bit obscure, but it's one of the most gratifying shots to ever successfully complete. In X-Men, I particularly love the Wolverine to Cyclops to upper ramp combo. It's just, whenever you pull that off, it feels great.
How many times have you pulled that one off?
It's, believe it or not, if you nip Wolverine on the right side, it'll go into Cyclops far more often than you think. And it's not dissimilar to trying to angle shots off a Monger in the Iron Man. Whenever Monger's raised up, you're not just trying to hit the Monger. You're trying to hit the blue nub on the right side of the magnet. Monger. Right, and you want to completely avoid the magnet, and it's a safer thing. Well, with Wolverine, it's not dissimilar. You don't want to just blast it right into the middle of Wolverine. You want to nip it off of the right side and try and send it up into the Cyclops, where it's more of a controlled feed.
So this is a huge multi-ball for Chris here.
He has a mode running with it, villain mode, Juggernaut. Which lights a whole bunch of shots as well for points.
Having a hard time getting control.
Sounds like we have some announcements going on here in the next room. They're getting ready for one of the other many contests or performances that have happened down here at the Southern-Fried Expo. Right in the middle of a pretty chaotic multi-ball here. Looks like Chris is opening it up and just said, let the balls flow.
Playing on the fly, and he is nailing some shots.
And there they go.
One element we haven't talked about is combos. If you hit certain characters in a certain order, you get points for combos. You can collect them during multi-ball. They will also help build up your score pretty quickly.
Well, that's an unusual combo. Is the are the points for the combos different, or are they all the same? Are they weighted based on difficulty?
I'm not sure of that.
I would be real curious to know that, because as a player, if I'm shooting a far more difficult shot in combination with something else, I want to be rewarded proportionally to it. I don't know if that level of detail made it into this, though, because as I've said many times in this matchup, I'm not fully familiar with this specific iteration of the code.
Though we haven't seen it yet, if you get enough combos, that will light Deadpool in.
Is that going to be? He needs 15, and that's not going to do it.
Nope.
He can't hang on for a point, though.
Bonus is paltry in this. I didn't realize
the key
how low.
You need the multipliers. If you finish a hero mode, that adds 3 to your bonus multiplier. and there's a mystery award that adds 5 more to it. If you can get huge multipliers, it will add up fast. But
so Henderson ekes out a point for sure.
He got a point in the first game as well.
So he's sitting at 2.
He's got to be hoping that Chris can't pass him here, because that would put him in a pretty bad situation going into game 3. Chris has just started his Magneto.
I have to say, if I had Magneto's powers, I'm not real sure that spinning pinballs around my head would be, high on my list of to-do items.
At some point, though, you'll probably get bored with all the other stuff he can do. So
yeah,
why not?
That's a good point. He's already made several movies. So.
He could move a tilt bob.
Oh, good point.
There you go.
There's a lot of real creative rules coming out into pinball nowadays with the, shutting off flipper power and adjusting things. It's getting fun. So there's still a pretty long road here to haul for, this is Chris Tabaka.
So goal number 1 would be to pass 3rd place, so he can get a point on the board at least.
And Chris he's coming into this game with 0 points, so he definitely needs to pull something out here on ball 3.
Huge out-of-ball shot there.
That was giant.
And as you see, he's ran 4 different X-Men at different times, so he has points all over the board.
He's up to 14 already.
I'm not sure which one it is, but one of his jackpots is 800,000.
Okay, this is more achievable than I thought right now. I hadn't realized how many points he had sitting out there. So if he hangs on and puts together something here, we may actually see him challenge first. Yeah, there's another 800,000
for super.
Super bad.
Okay, control it. You're up to 18. Just since the last time you showed your score, it went up close to 5 million points. So gather yourself.
You've got 2nd.
Chris is in the semifinals here of a circuit event. He knows what he's doing. He's a solid player. Trying to cradle separate. Didn't quite go exactly as he wanted, but not the classic over and out. There it is.
6 million.
6 million. So he's at 27, and I believe he needs 32. Is that correct?
I think 30 something is the next level for him.
I think it's a low 30. And is he Pete, where would you estimate he's at with bonus right now?
Well, he finished 1 hero during that multi-ball, so he's got to have at least 4x.
14.6 million in that multi-ball. So that multi-ball alone would have put him into what would have got him a point.
Chance to start a villain here.
I'm very curious to see what he chooses here.
He goes with Sentinels. Right now, he also has the Gambit Hurry Up running. It's a tough shot. You have to shoot it through the left loop around and then hit the right pop bumper from the right flipper. It starts out at 15 million, though. If you can get it fast, it's huge points.
That almost sounds like a dare.
He's going for it.
And he
got 5 million out of it.
Nice.
Did that put him over?
Yes.
I think it did put him over.
We'll be seeing Steve playing.
All right, so game on here. Don't. You still need to put more into it.
Let it settle down.
We'll take a break here. Wise decision.
And you got 30 seconds plus on your timer, so you're really not hurting anything there. You have no modes.
And you
just wasting away.
You don't want to go through all the work to get into first and then just bail out right and leave, and leave it on the table.
Yeah, because Steve Bowden's coming up.
Yeah, you still got work to do, but you're feeling good because at this point you're in the driver's seat. And that is the jinx of all jinxes.
Too dangerous. Couldn't do anything.
That's a great run, though. That was a great ball.
Great ball. And he needed it.
He was in last place going into that ball.
Oh, it wasn't even in the 30s. Okay, I thought it was 32. It was 29.
Rounded it to those 30s.
Yeah, rounding up, it was 32. So Steve still needs 10 million here. That's actually a better. It's an even better ball by Chris than we thought it was. Who had 0 points in game 1 and desperately needs to get something here in game 2 to have a shot to advance in game 3.
I think Steve's been through Magneto and Weapon X multi-ball already.
Yes, he has. So it's what multi-ball will he attempt to go for, or will he try to villain it out?
Needs a creative solution.
So Pete, we were discussing earlier what's the lowest point total someone could actually advance with, and I think we figured that if someone 12s out a group with 2 going from each group of 4 players, it would be 12-3-3-3.
That is correct.
So that's not something we've seen at a circuit event yet, but I have to say I'm looking forward to the first 3-point advance in a round.
I've seen 4s get through. I've never seen a 3 get through.
Yeah, a 4 can get through clean.
Yeah, 12-4-3-2 would do it.
Nice live catch by Steve there. Oh, and that Magnet just whipped it out the left outlane.
All right, Magnet says no.
Sometimes it seems unfair.
That's the end of Game 2 in the semifinals here between Chris Warren, Chris Tabaka, Steve Bowden, and Josh Henderson.
So we had Chris Tabaka taking first place on that game.
That puts him at 4.
And Steve Bowden took second.
That'd be what, 6 for Steve? Or no, that's 4 for Steve
4 for
Bowden as
Steve.
well.
Third place. Who's third place on that game, Pete?
It wasn't Chris Warren.
Josh.
Josh, right.
Gosh, almost forgot who was in the game. Chris Warren took a 0.
So we have 4-4-4-2. And Josh has the 2.
It's interesting. Josh is driving the bus, and right now he's got the least points.
Appears we're getting a little bit of bonus coverage right here. Here's some World Challenge Soccer from the B division.
So this is the game we were discussing earlier. Kind of the wild card of the tournament. Not many people knew the rule set to this game.
The wild card. It is a wild card, as many Gottlieb games are.
Well, with the World Cup going on, I think a soccer game's appropriate.
Things are moving on pretty nicely here. We might get a chance to go watch the U.S. game tonight.
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
So from what I understand in World Challenge Soccer, getting to Super Riot is incredibly lucrative, but it's a long way away. Stepping up to this particular game, you're going to want to spell soccer on the right orbit, challenge at the goal, which is in the upper left, and is World the center ramp?
World is the center ramp,
World
right.
is the center ramp, and by doing that, Pete, actually, you had a chance to play this game, and you're sort of a Gottlieb master. Why don't you go ahead and run down the rules so that
Before he does that, can I just say, if I was a soccer fan, I think I would be offended that the 2 wizard modes in the soccer game are Riot and Super Riot.
Yeah.
Is that really the front that the soccer world wants to put out there? Go ahead. Pete,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it is. Well, the approach that I took, I ended up like 3rd or 4th on this game. It was to go for the World Challenge Soccer. If you complete all the letters, your bonus is 100 million, which is pretty substantial in games that are.
Yeah, we can see even in this matchup right here, 100 million would be 5-fold of what anyone else has put up.
There's also big points in multi-ball.
How do you achieve the multi-ball?
There is, as you can see that in the middle, there's a orange insert that's blinking. That one says multi. There's another one that's already lit for this player that's ball. If you get both lit, that will light multi-ball in the 2 holes on the left and right side of the play field,
So
which could be a 3-ball multi-ball.
So if I was going to equate it to another game, those the 5 inserts in the middle there, one says multi, the second one in from the left, next to the flashing purple one right now, and then the one that's lit on the second one in from the right that says ball. By getting those is similar to, say, Last Action Hero multi-ball, where you have to get the words Last Action and Hero, and by completing all 3 of those inserts, or in this case, both of those inserts, multi-ball then starts, or it's lit.
It's lit. You have to shoot it in one of the 2 holes to get the multi-ball, and then that hole that he just shot the ball in, if you plunge a ball into it, when multi-ball starts, you'll have a 3-ball multi-ball. Otherwise, it's a 2-ball.
So I've seen a lot of players make that right orbit combo for the soccer letters into the goal for the challenge letters in the upper left. And it seems like that's a pretty common strategy to try and work through the letters. In your opinion, is World, Challenge, or Soccer the most difficult word to get?
Well, challenge would be the most difficult because you're shooting it up into a target and you have no idea where it's going to go. With this game having the lightning flippers on it, the world is dangerous. If it doesn't make it all the way up that ramp, it's screaming back down the middle most of the time.
So, go ahead, Pete.
But, I mean, it's a pretty wide shot. You have a lot of room to hit that world ramp.
So I have an additional question for you. As we see now, those two banks of stand-up targets there are, they seem pretty meaty. You hit one and it's going to redirect into the other. What do these do? If
you complete both banks of targets, that will start whatever insert is lit there. So in this case, if this player knocks down both banks, he will start, he would collect ball for multi-ball, and you see it moves with certain shots.
The slings would move it.
Right. Like Gottlieb games from this time, the plunge also comes into play. It's really hard to see because the ramp's over it, but on the right side there are 3 inserts. One of them collects all the drop targets, which would start a mode. The other one is increased goal value, which really isn't beneficial for this type of play. And the third one is mystery. That will give you a random award. On this one, it's set up to be 1,000 points, or it would have been instant multi-ball on ball 3. We're going to turn away from this B division game to head over to the A bank. It appears that Josh Henderson has chosen Iron Man as the third game, and this thing has been a beast all weekend.
Iron Man was described earlier as a game that is stealing people's souls.
I have to say, I'm pretty shocked that he chose this. I did not expect to see Iron Man chosen in the final rounds. This game has been mean. The scores on it have been low. We've seen a lot of outlane drains. The outlanes have just they've been wide. The slings are active. We'll see how it treats him. But this, I will say, is a surprising choice.
Anytime I was trying to qualify on it, I just tried to stick with bogey because everything else was so dangerous. Even Monger, which seems safe, was very difficult.
So it looks like he's heading bogey to try and take some of the risk out of it.
Great shooting there, getting the double points for...
This is one way to do it. This is what accuracy. I mean, that's how pinball used to be played with the redirects. A lot of players would try and I can't remember what they used to call it, but it was something along the lines of just continue the trajectory. The ball. You'd basically just try and keep it flowing and just hope the game was designed in a way so that those redirects would send it back into a safe place. But you don't see a lot of players do that anymore.
Josh, it'll be interesting to see. Will Josh go from he started the bogey, and I imagine he's going to go right after Monger right now.
Yeah, so we have Monger with bogey going. This is a pretty good position to be in here. And I will also say that Josh backhanded the left ramp with the Monger up, which is not something you see a whole lot.
Hey, wow. I did that earlier. It's like I didn't even know that was possible. Joining us in the booth now, we have the tournament organizer, Brian Broyles. Welcome to the booth.
Thanks, guys.
How's it going, Brian? Is everything going well for you so far?
It's doing really well. Actually surprised of how things are turning out. I was a little nervous, this being my big event, but with the help of you guys, it's been turning out really good.
Now, you have run other events in the past. Is this the largest event that you've been a part of?
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
I have to say that all the feedback we've been getting has been real positive. So, congratulations on that. How do you feel? How do you feel the final rounds have been going so far? You getting more and more calm and relieved as things are progressing?
I am, and I'm actually surprised how quick things are moving.
Yeah, they are moving pretty quick. We've seen a lot of fun games, but we haven't seen any that are in some of the circuit events in the past. We've seen some players just absolutely demolish games and take an hour or two on balls. Keith Elwin, I'm talking about you, Dirty Harry. Thanks for that. So Brian, yeah, how does the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament work in with the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo? Are you working in unison with them? Is this something that we can expect to see next year?
Oh, absolutely. This is an event I plan on doing every year. Obviously, with the help of the organizers for the Southern-Fried Gameroom Expo and allowing us to put the tournament here, I think it's been really great. A lot of volunteers came out from Atlanta, volunteered machines. A lot of people in our local leagues helping out. It's been really great. I actually look forward to it next year. See what I can do to make it better.
So I have to, now that we have you here on the mic, is there anyone that you would like to, any local leagues or anyone, the people who are donating games or anyone who helped you just organize all this over the last months that you would like to, say thanks to, as we see Chris Warren walk away with about $5 million to Josh Henderson's $7.6 million.
Oh yeah, Chris Compton, Scott Kuthice, a lot of those guys really helped me with organizing, getting things ready, dotting all the I's and crossing the T's, and making sure.
How is the local support down here? How is the local league? Are you a member of a league?
Yeah, I actually play in 2.
Oh, well, what leagues are you in, and where can people go for that information?
We have the Atlanta Pinball League, and we also have the North Georgia that we started because we only have so much space, of course, because we're playing in collectors' homes. So we felt the need to expand that to people in the northern Georgia area that they couldn't get in. We just had people on a waiting list.
That doesn't sound dissimilar to the Free State Pinball Association. It seems like they have one league that's all flies under one banner, but it's in some separate areas, and it's very successful for them. Do you see growth in your league? Do you see more and more interest as events occur and people will get wind of it?
Yep. It's been really good. And let's open up the second league there. We've got some people off the waiting list, and they're filling up.
And that's what we want to continue to see, is as much growth as we can continue to get people involved in this game, people bringing their kids in.
So we have Chris Tabaka here with 1.2 million, chasing down a 4.8 and a 7.6. Looks like Steve Bowden is going to be coming in fourth place. Pete, what are the updated standings for, or what are the updating point totals for this particular matchup here?
This group, Josh has 2. The other 3 players all have 4.
So it is wide open here. Brian, you got to sit in for a pretty exciting Game 3 in the semifinal matchup at the Atlanta Pinvasion Tournament in the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo. As I've mentioned many times, we are in the pinball section. There are 4 or 5 other rooms that are filled up with different events and different sponsors and vendors and a whole lot of games. Steve Bowden of FunWithBonus.com is stepping up to Iron Man. Let's see what strategy he employs.
I'm really surprised with all the different Microsoft and PlayStation, all these different companies that we actually got to get on board for the first expo.
Yeah, it's a real impressive lineup. I think you guys did a great job. Do you have, Brian, did you get a chance to play Iron Man at all this weekend?
I did. Very brutal.
Very brutal game, yeah. That's what we were saying whenever we were shocked that Josh chose it. This particular game, more than any other, is one that players have been avoiding. Steve gains control on the left flipper, and it looks like he's also going to take the bogey strategy similar to Josh Henderson, or just fire it into whiplash. I don't know if that was a miss at the right ramp. It's a pretty wide miss, though. I don't expect Steve to miss by that much. He probably made that decision intentionally, but it looks like he's going to Monger now. Actually, we've had a couple shots all over the playfield here. I'm not sure what strategy we're looking to bring in. Obviously, this close to Monger becomes a priority, so let's go ahead and bring that up and get it out of the way. Now we need 6 shots here in the center of the playfield, and as we mentioned earlier in the X-Men game, you don't want to shoot it straight into the Monger because then it gets affected by the magnet. You want to do what Steve did right there twice in a row, very successfully, and 3 times. You want to shoot it on the right side or all the way on the left side. It's just a safer feed. Shoot that blue nub at the base of the Monger, get into the multi-ball, and you want to bring the Monger back up by shooting either any of the 3 rectangular purple inserts. There's one right up the middle, and then there's one on both the left orbit and the right orbit. And these will bring the Monger back up for jackpots, and then after you spell Monger again in the multi-ball, you're going to have a super jackpot straight up the middle. and the game did not treat Steve nicely. But still, he is in third place, and no one really has much into it here on ball one. 20 to 25 million have been enormous scores all weekend long, and I think if anyone opens it up in any real significant way, they're going to be feeling great about it.
One nice thing about this Ironman is while it's set up very brutally at the playfield level, the tilt is extremely fair. It'll give the players a chance to save themselves with nudges and things. You saw Steve smacking it pretty hard without even the least bit of a warning.
And that's the way a game like Iron Man should be set up, because it's a game where you know, the game, the ball is out of control a lot, and there's not a lot of safe feeds back to the flippers. You know, you're forced into shooting. You're forced into shooting stuff with the magnet in the middle and the monger there as a primary scoring strategy that are going to put the ball out of control. And you want to be able to move a game like that around. So as a tournament director, Brian made a good decision here, and he set the game up and let the players play it the way it was intended. Which is something I think we've seen with all the games here at the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament. Everything has been playing pretty fair, and you know, like we've said before, at any event, there's always, you know, a switch here or a stuck ball there or something like that. But that's pinball. That's the mechanical action of the game. And whenever you take the time to think through your strategies as a tournament director and you set things up the way they should be set up, you end up with a smooth running event like we have here, which is even doubly impressive because it's a first-year event. And so Josh Henderson's coming back up here with 8 million points. Brian, since we still have you here in the booth, I want to ask, as you're watching things wind down here at the end of the semifinals, and you're kind of exhaling a little bit, are you going to Disneyland after this, or what do you have planned?
I'll probably go back, take a little break, and start planning on the next tournament, actually.
All right.
Now, I know we got a charity tournament coming up in July for the
Project Pinball.
yes,
Project
sorry,
Pinball.
thanks, Pete. But yeah, we're going to gear up for that. That's a really good cause, so we're looking forward to doing that.
Project Pinball is also down here. They were exhibiting at the event. And what do you have a website where anyone could reach that charity and find out more information about them?
I don't off the top of my head.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if someone just types in Project Pinball into Google, they're going to be able to find it here, so that shouldn't be too difficult to find. Chris Warren is stepping up here for ball one at 4.8. Josh didn't really put much on top of the 7.6 that he had after ball one. Everything is still accessible for everybody. Brian, is there anything else you'd like to say before you step out?
No, I need to get back to work here. And,
Well, I have one question for you before you go. You based a lot of what you did on the Louisville Expo, which was an excellent tournament and event. Have you thought of any changes that you'd like to do for the next event down here?
I'll probably run the classics the same way, the B division, the way I did the A division. I was really concerned about time, but I think I probably could have done that. You know, I was a little nervous. This being my first event, I didn't want to run us late in the hours. I was looking at the PAPA information and seeing how long the classics actually took at Louisville. And that's great information they have on the PAPA site, too. It gives you a great idea of how long you think your tournament's going to run, roughly. So I'll probably do that. I'll go back. I took a lot of notes. You know, I got a lot of feedback from players and things like that. So I'll kind of go back, look it over, and draw up my plans for the next one.
Well, as a tournament director, notes are your friend, and I have to say that thus far you've made a lot of good decisions, and thank you very much for sitting into the booth. And we encourage all of our visitors to come down here to the Atlanta, or all of our viewers to come down to the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament next year, or attend the
Fried Gameroom Expo.
Southern-Fried, I've said it 15 times today, and I can't remember. Southern-Fried Gaming Expo. Thanks, Brian, for sitting into the booth. We're going to get back to this Game 3 of our semifinal matchup.
No problem. Thanks, Mark. Speak.
We have Chris Warren up right now. He's just moved into Ironmonger Multi-Ball. They gained some ground here on Josh, who is out just under 10 million. He has the add-a-ball possibility there on the right, but drained out before he was able to collect it. Now stepping into the booth, we have Brian Dye.
We're going to get back-to-back interviews here. Brian, how did you made it into the final round here in the A division with, or into the final rounds into the A division on a tiebreaker against was it Derek Fagate last night? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. It was a pretty exciting match. It was a good game. I had one last push there. You know, PD yelled out, you know, 2 more minutes. I slid one game in on Attack from Mars. Put up about 4 billion, and I had somebody else help me out a little bit on a game with a shadow that right there at the input. Derek and I tied for that last spot, and we went to a game on Iron Man, and I was able to pull it through.
So Brian, you're an up-and-coming pinball player from the great state of West Virginia.
Yes, sir.
Is there many? Are there many games for you to play down there, or where do you find where do you learn new games, and where do you get access?
Well, you know, I live in Morgantown, you know, where the university is, and we have a couple games on location there. We have a bowling alley that's got, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Family Guy, and a Starship Troopers, and that's pretty much it. We have just a very limited amount. You know, pinball is at this point in time isn't a very big thing in West Virginia. You know, we have a couple guys that do come up to the Pittsburgh League, me being one of them. But I had to give a lot of credit to the Pittsburgh Pinball League. That's I participate in that league, and I've gone to a lot of tournaments, I've gone to a lot of events, and everybody in that league has been extremely helpful in teaching me games and allowing me to play with their private collections and come to the league and just showing me the ins and outs. And, getting to these tournaments and helping me get that experience to kind of get to the next level. So, well,
speaking of experience, how is your experience here at the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo?
Wow.
Are you going to take anything from this and put it into your arsenal for the next time out?
Oh, absolutely. Brian ran an absolutely fantastic tournament. The bank was very varied. In the types of games. I think World Challenge Soccer. Everybody thought at first that what is this doing in here? But it ended up being a really great game, and a lot of people played it. But I think the big thing I'm going to take from this tournament is especially I learned a big lesson from Steve Bowden there in that first game of Metallica. I walked up and put a 20 million ball one, and everybody else was kind of struggling, and I really kind of needed Steve to not do well. I hate to say that about Steve, but he walked up on ball 3, had made 0 progress towards anything. Got Sparky once, had a pretty solid multi-ball, and then started over and just started chopping wood and got to that second Sparky multi-ball and just blew it up. Ended up with 108 million from a 3 million point ball 3.
Steve is an incredible player, and he's one of the people that reminds you frequently no lead is ever safe whenever you're at a PAPA Circuit event. There's always someone here in your group that is going to be able to take the game to task, and sometimes you don't know when it's going to happen, and sometimes maybe it doesn't always happen, but the capability is always there. So do you find yourself with I don't want to say a lack of pinball machines in West Virginia, do you find yourself coming down here and having to learn rule sets on the fly?
That's interesting that you asked that. I've never played an X-Men before, and that was the second game in our bank today. And I haven't been able to play a Mustang either, so those were 2 games in that first group. So I didn't know them, but I tried watching Steve and watching Josh Henderson, who was also playing really well. I tried watching what they were doing and pick up on the things that they were doing to try to get the most out of my, what little I could at that point. But a lot of the games on, in here, World Challenge Soccer was, one you had to kind of learn on, and everybody, was really talking about that game a lot this weekend. So yeah, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but when you're playing with some of the best in the world, you can kind of pick up on those things really fast and try to imitate those as best as possible.
And once again, we're down here at the Atlanta Pinvasion Tournament in the Southern-Fried Gaming Expo. I'm Mark Steinman, and in the booth with me is Pete Hendricks and Brian Dye. Brian's going to be sitting with us here through the end of this Iron Man game. And let's get back to the action here. We've got Josh Henderson on ball 3, game 3, and everyone is still in this. We have it's a matchup between Chris Warren, Chris Tabaka, Steve Bowden, and Josh Henderson. Josh has 2 points. Everyone else has 4 points. So Josh is highly unlikely to take first, but he's hoping to.
Yeah, he would have to. He has to win.
Yeah, he has to win.
So things aren't looking too up for Josh right now. Chris Warren steps up here with 9.8, and I think, did he just get like 250 points from hitting the flipper?
It had been awarding a. There was one switch it was awarding. 'Cause I know when Chris Tabaka started his game, he already had 1,170 points.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a little discussion of that over by the TV.
Well, the rules on that are going to be insignificant play on. So Warren here at this stage of the game doesn't need much to take a lead, but he wants to distance himself from everyone, and there's the lead right there. Well, not yet, but with bonus he has it. But what he wants to do is set himself up in a position where he's distancing himself from player 3 and player 4, and then,
Unfortunate.
So he takes over the lead, does not distance himself, but with the way this game is playing,
Well, he's guaranteed himself 1 point. He needs both players. He needs both Chris Tabaka and Steve Bowden to pass him, or he's moving on.
and is Chris Tabaka stepping up here with bogey ready to go?
It looks like it.
Yes, it is.
And there could be some big points in there. I would be shocked if he did anything but just try and loop those ramps back and forth.
And he's been doing an excellent job of going back and forth, alternating between those ramps on the fly. I don't want to jinx him by any means, but he's really locked into those 2 ramps.
Brian, how have the how's the feed from the halfway shot from the right ramp been doing well? Has it been coming down to a safe position, or has it been going down the middle?
The few times that I've been able to hit it this weekend, I mean, it seemed like a fair feed back down, I was always really kind of conflicted as to do I try to live catch it, do I hold the flipper up, because so many times on this game, this is such an outlay hungry game, and especially with how it's set up pretty difficult. So my thought process was if I hold my flipper up here and it's gonna just bounce up, roll up the slingshot down the out lane. So you have a couple decisions to make there, but from my experience with it, it was kind of 50-50. It's a coin flip if it doesn't go all the way. So he's still got
This is definitely one of those games where there's lots of great information in the screen. So I'm sure he was looking for Grand Champ, maybe.
Trying to backhand the left ramp. No, he's not shooting for drones.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. Not with bogey lit.
I don't understand what the decision-making process is at this point, to be perfectly honest with you.
There it is. That's the shot. He's just got to cash it in now.
Yep. All right. Make it happen. It's go time.
That post pass is pretty tough to make, too. There are a lot of people talking about how they've been having a hard time getting that over there.
So he's wanting to start on the left ramp. Doesn't look like he wants to take a clean shot from the left flipper to the right ramp. Here's that feed. Oh, and dangerous.
That was exactly it. And that's been the killer.
And that's not going to be enough. So he is in 3rd place. Pete, what are the numbers?
At this point, it comes down to Chris Warren has moved on. At worst, he will finish with 6. It's basically between Chris Tabaka and Steve Bowden.
So if Bowden passes Henderson, then he's in. If he doesn't, then Henderson moves on.
No, Henderson can't move on. If Bowden passes Tabaka, he's on.
Okay, right.
So the number he's looking for is 9.5 or 9.6.
So it's between players 3 and 4.
Yes.
So he needs 5.4 million, and
doesn't really have much progress here.
This will be interesting. Steve is a player who thinks through his games a lot. I have a feeling that, I have a feeling he's going to be looking at this play field and talking and thinking it out here before he plunges.
Now, one thing he was saying before he plunged his first ball, he said that the ramps were awarding double bogeys for some players. I'd never seen it, but we were busy with the interviews and stuff. Watching the other players play after that, I'd never seen it.
So he's saying that one shot to the ramp would sometimes award 2.
Right.
Okay. Well, that could...
If that is truly the case and you can get double points from a ramp...
Then absolutely shoot the ramps. I wonder if that played into Chris Tabaka's decision to only start on the left side.
Right.
I would say more likely it's just the fact that right ramp can be death, and he doesn't want to start it without some momentum on the ball. But you never know. Sometimes these players, will combine aspects of a situation and make decisions based on collective information rather than independently. And that's not a good start here, but that's not going to end it. Steve needs 5 million points here.
Do you go for Monger here?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, here.
There he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was only 2 away, and
he got 2 out of that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got it off the plunge and then off the ball save.
Plus, he got the first M. Did it hit it coming across there?
I know we were notified earlier in the weekend that sometimes Monger would just spot letters. It's very touchy, and the vibrations of the game will sometimes award it. I don't think it's a champion pub situation where you can just shake it and get hits on the boxer or anything like that, but sometimes whenever it moves up.
Rising up and have hit vibrate the switch.
Ooh, oh no. And he brought it back in. And he
Fantastic nudge.
And did you notice he took the shot at the drone, and now he has War Machine, or not War Machine, but yeah, it is War Machine.
He can bring the 2, but yeah, that's the right decision.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but he locked out.
He has locked out
War
Machine.
But it doesn't even matter. No. He has Monger going, and all he needs is another 2.5.
You got to bring him up. Super will take it.
Super will do it. Just take your time.
1 to go.
No reason to rush. No reason to rush.
Okay. Going down. Trap up. No, but he'll double Grace shot.
He nails it.
There it is.
Nails it.
Yep, and that's going to send Steve Bowden through to the final round at the Atlanta Pinvasion tournament. Fantastic play. And just for good measure, sticks it up into the War Machine.
Great patience. He was aware. He got the shot off just in time.
And he has the victory.
Yep.
Excellent job by Steve Bowden there.
Takes it over the top. First place for Steve Bowden, so Steve's going to end up with 8 points. And Chris Warren is going to sneak through with 6, correct?
Yep. Chris Warren will be at 6. Josh will finish with 3. And Chris Tabaka will have 4.
We're going to go ahead and take a jump over to Mustang.
As a reminder, Adam Lefkoff will be through. He had 8 coming into this game. Trent had 4, and both Escher and Timmy had 1 each. So Escher or Tim have to win.
Trent would have to lose. Trent would have to take 4th.
And or finish no worse than 2nd.
Right.
3rd could create a tiebreaker. Well,
Timothy Street's on the game now. Trying to get control here. Looks like he's trying to shoot there for those middle group of targets.
Trent was player 2, so right now he is in 3rd place. I believe Escher is player 3, so we may have that tiebreaker right here.
That'll do it. That's the end of the game.
If I have the right lineups here, Escher would have won. That moves him to 5. Adam would be 2nd, which puts him at 10. Trent 3rd, goes to 5, and Timothy finishes with 1. And the discussion's going on right now about the tiebreaker.
Yeah, we're actually double checking the rules because it used to be a random draw, but Doug's going to double check because we're not 100% sure if it's random draw anymore. We think we may have actually changed the rule to be high seed chooses. And the issue is that I know we were discussing that as a possibility, but no one is sure if we actually, no one here is sure if that was actually finalized. So we're just going to make sure we make the right decision and read the rules as they're printed here in the facility.
While they're looking that up, I can give you the 4 finalists for the B division. They're going to be Tony Pierce, Joseph Gnu, Chris Compton, and Ray Smith.
So, Brian, You drove down from West Virginia.
I did.
And whenever you go back, is the league going to be waiting for you, or do you have a break after this before your next competitive event?
Next weekend, I believe if I'm correct, we have the Pittsburgh Pinball Open coming up, and they're at the Slovak Club in Parks Township in Pennsylvania. I'm kind of in a weird place. I have an examination coming up for my job, so I have to kind of start thinking about that too. That's got to be done by the end of the month. So, there's definitely going to be some more competitions in the future for me. I definitely like to make it to the Florida circuit event, at least a couple more circuit events here on the East Coast. Just coming out and playing and having a good time.
So how did you get into pinball initially?
That's a really good question. I mean, as a kid, I always I liked to go into game rooms at the mall and stuff. My grandparents would take me all the time. And there for a while, I was obviously away from it. Pinball became just one of those things that I didn't really think of all that much, especially with the consoles that came out, the PlayStations, the Game Boys, the Xboxes, and I was into that for a really long time. It was interesting. One night, I had some friends over, and we hopped on Netflix. We were all pretty bored, and we saw the box art for a documentary. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. It's called Special When Lit, which is a pretty fantastic documentary. I really enjoyed it.
Filmed at the PAPA facility a few years ago.
Yeah, and that's the next thing there. So, going through the documentary, I see this segment on the PAPA World Championships, and they start talking about this guy named Keith Elwin and how he was winning all of these world championships, and they pan over to the building and it says Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty close. I wonder what this place is like. And this is before I knew that PAPA was only open twice a year, and it just so happened to be that same weekend that I had watched the documentary, Pinburg was going on. So I was able to come up and hang out at the facility. Obviously, I didn't compete. I didn't even know what competitive pinball was at that point, until I got there. And while I was there, I saw a flyer for last year's Pittsburgh Pinball Open, and that was actually my first competitive event, and here I am.
So I did get verification on the tiebreaker rules. We double-checked, and the rule was changed officially. We did finalize it, and the tiebreaker is chosen by the high seed, but the high seed can only choose a game that they have not yet played that round.
That makes it more interesting for sure.
Pretty nice thing we can see here. Apparently a bounty hunter in the universe has found the PAPA Circuit belt. It has been returned.
We sent off our scouts. Brian, earlier in the broadcast, we were discussing how Darth Vader had actually stolen the circuit belt. There's proof of that on the PAPA website. You can go there to check it out. And anyone who wants to follow along in the bracket, be sure to do so at papa.org. There's also a bunch of video tutorials and just some other interesting things here to check out, pinball and gaming related. And it looks like we're going back to Iron Man.
That's fine. Apparently the tiebreaker is going to be on Iron Man. Since you were in this situation yesterday, Brian, what thought process do you go through stepping up into a game that's very mean, and your pinball or tournament life is on the line?
Yeah. So I think, this is where, me coming up is kind of, I don't want to say an inexperienced player at this point, but someone who has a little bit less experience than, the Stephen Bowdens and the Trent Ongensteins. You walk up to a game that's been mean all weekend, and you just have to have that. You have to have a confident mentality that, you're going to be able to take the game down, that you're going to be able to make the shots. And, what I try to tell myself, or what, just stay calm and focus on those shots, and, pay attention if your shots are too late, too early, and really try to hone in on it. You can't let it get into your head, and it's difficult, especially, when you walk up and you're player 4 and you see the first 3 people take, house balls to the left out lane, it's tough. But you really have to go into that game thinking, I'm going to blow this thing up. I'm going to make this happen.
Look, last night, did you come in with a strategy in mind on how you were going to attack this game, or was it just take one shot and see where that leads you?
I walked into it with a strategy. I wanted to get, whiplash started, or at least partway started, and started hitting ramps for bogey, and then sorry about that, and get bogey started, and then try to stack a couple different things, and I wasn't hitting the ramps very well. I had a lot of rejections from the right ramp. So I eventually decided to go for Monger multi-ball. I was able to start it and get partway through it. I didn't get the super, but that was the strategy that I went into with it, especially being a two-player game, and I knew he was kind of struggling a little bit too.